Plato said that when you go to chemist school, you became more alert. You more wake up, your spirit wake up. And you became a more human being. That's your character is built in a school. We must know Netcher. You see, maybe in the future we need to know some heretic too. We need to know Netcher.
ATM Hotep. All right, first things first, shout out to everybody in the chat and who's tuned in. Welcome in peace. You're tuned into the Seshu channel. Seshu Ma'ani Medu Netcher. This is your brother Wujao Menib Edi Ma'at. And today I'm going to go straight into teaching moments to basically clean up the mess that Chief X has made and continues to make, you know, and I don't know if anybody takes that stuff serious, but it's just in case, and it's, you know, an opportunity for people to walk away with something that they can learn from as well, if you don't already know. And if you already know, then hey, this is a review for you, and it's still all good. All right. So right now, first of all, I'll give a shout out again, and so I have to, you know, kind of give some context to everything that I'm about to say, in case those of you who are watching or may watch this in the archives, you are just tuned into this video and only this video. So you may have missed the context or other conversations that lead up to everything that I'm about to talk about tonight. All right. So just quickly to give a recap and an overview. The issue is this. There are people on the internet, on social media, that are arguing about the identity of the ancient Egyptians. That's really where it starts from. The identity of the ancient Egyptians. And so people are fussing and quarreling and arguing over whether the ancient Egyptians are black, whether they're white, whether they're North Africans, whether they're supra-Saharan Africans or sub-Saharan Africans, and all of that stuff is mixed into that messy soup. All right. And my stance on that, and it's always been on that, is that that entire conversation is a complete and total waste of time, because our modern notions of racial categories that we go by today do not apply to antiquity at all. That's not how human populations were grouped based on our criterias of today, skin color and the stuff that we deal with today. People weren't grouped together like that. Culture is king. It has always been king in making these determinations of identity. We split it up a little bit by saying culture and ethnicity and things like that, but race does not apply to antiquity. So, and then also with that argument that has been going on for over 50 years. So the racial makeup of the ancient Egyptians has been fussed about for over 50 years. We all know the popular UNESCO Cairo Symposium in 1974 with Shekinah Diop and Dr. Theophilo Benga and all of the other scholars that attended. It's documented in the volumes of the books from UNESCO. Since then until now, it's still being argued. And during all of this time, people in the so-called black community, in terms of scholarship, have been distracted with that argument and are far behind on actually studying the culture itself, the ancient Egyptian culture itself, digging into it. So Egyptology was born in the early 1800s with the decipherment credited to Champollion. And since then, different schools of Egyptology has emerged. You have the German school, the British school, the French school, the American school through the Chicago Oriental Institute, and you have the prominent professors and scholars of each school that become popular by name. So you may hear the name Breasted, you may hear the name Lepsius, you may hear the Champollion, you may hear Budge, and so on and so forth. So you hear popular names, but they're coming from any one of these schools. So those schools of Egyptology and the study of Egypt, ancient Egypt, among those schools are advancing and advancing. They're discovering and probing and questioning and answering and hypothesizing, coming up with theories and everything about all aspects of the ancient Egyptian culture, its language, etc., etc. But here we are fussing about the same old broken topic about the racial makeup or the identity of the ancient Egyptians. Now, what I also say to that and have always said to this is that there's an understanding in the initial phase of the arguments made by Diop and Obenga specifically. They're not the only ones back then, but specifically them because they rose to the occasion and attended the Cairo Symposium. In those initial phases, pushback was needed on the scholarship at the time because European scholars and the other different schools of Egyptology have intentionally and had a concerted effort to blur the facts about ancient Egypt. So much so that even from early Egyptology, there was a refusal to admit that ancient Egypt was even on the continent of Africa or among the other African communities on the continent of Africa. So you'll hear people say, well, hey, these scholars tried to take Egypt out of Africa, and they still do. There's still groups of people that do that. They will take Egypt and speak about it. Now, when we know that on a map, they can't physically remove Egypt from the continent of Africa. So just to be clear, when I say they try to remove Egypt from Africa, I don't mean they took a pencil eraser and tried to erase it off of the map. What they do in their discussions about Egypt is they remove it from the African context, not continent. All right. They wrap Egypt up early in Egyptology among the biblical conversations the Semitic conversations, the Middle East, the Levant, and all of that. If you do any study of the chronology of Egyptology and its scholarship and its publications all throughout the history of Egyptology, you'll see exactly what I'm saying and what I mean. All right. So with that being said, that is the core of the repeated and redundant arguments that's going on. Now, in these arguments, people are making all sorts of mistakes, old mistakes, that are being made. Now, one in particular, which is why I'm live now, is done by Chief X. Now, I put the link to this panel in the chat. So the link is in the chat and it's pinned to the top. So I invite, and you all are hearing me, I invite and welcome Chief X on the panel. I won't do him like he did me just now. Now, I don't know if Chief X is still live, but let me just speak on that real quick. Chief X went live, and he has a video entitled Chief X versus Wujau and the Squad. And in parentheses, he has the word Remech, RMT. So I saw his video and he was going live. So as soon as he went live, I commented in the chat and I asked him to provide for me the link so that we can have a discussion about any of these issues. Because where I come from and what I do and what I advocate education, teaching, and broadening the scope of knowledge that we have. I don't get into the drama, the back and forth, the little silly circus stuff that people do, all that immature stuff that people do, and what he does. But I asked him to send me the link. He refused to give me the link, and he acknowledged seeing me in the chat. He said and admittedly that he's not going to give me the link because he said in his words, he's not prepared and he could not go toe to toe with me about the language or this, that, and the third, Medew netter, as he say, and so on and so forth. So right then and there, it deserves pause for a second because he acknowledges his lack of skill or ability to even have a discussion with me on the very thing he's going to talk about. So the question I would have to him is, why are you talking about it then? So that's really weird to me. So I stayed on his live and I kept asking him for the link. He refused. He kept refusing, kept giving excuses. He reading comments around mine, and then he started to block my comments. He started blocking, timing me out on both accounts, the Seshu account and my Wujao account. All right. So, so that's when it gets like overboard silly. And he is still to this day, still making mistakes. And so what I see is that people like Chief X, he's not interested in teaching or informing or educating people about the truth of anything. It's all for show and being messy. And he has a pattern of that. And that's how I view him. I have no respect for him because he outright lies about me. I can't speak for other people, and doesn't afford the opportunity to be corrected. So he blocked me from correcting him. So that's why I'm live now. So I'm giving y'all a little history of why I'm live now. Now, like I said, I'm not sure if he's still live, but whoever is his fan, and if you're over there watching him, right now you have 2 browser windows open or whatever the case is, let him know that I'm live and he's more than welcome to come on here as long as I'm still live. I don't care when it is. It could be right now, it could be in the middle, it could be in the end, or whatever the case is. And I say that because Chief X has a habit of lying and saying that people are fearful of him, and he include me in that people. He said I'm full of fear, but yet everybody witnessed him denying me the link to go on his channel to have a discussion. See, I don't do all the silly stuff, cutting people off, cursing people out, and everything like that. That's not where I come from. I'm willing to have a discussion with him, and I can teach him and show him all of his errors very quickly. It wouldn't even be that long. So it's unfortunate that I was unable to do that with him. So I'm live now to do it and show you all. And I would wait until he was all the way finished, but I can't waste my time on the silliness. I can't spend time here waiting on the silliness. So I'm live now, and I'm just going to show you where he's wrong. Now, I've done this before already, but I'm going to show you specifically based on what he was saying today, because he definitely changed his arguments today as well. But I'm just going to show you all a couple of things. But make sure you let him know the chat. And any of you all in the chat right now, I appreciate you tuned in. But feel free to click the link. If you want to share any comments or ideas with me, feel free. Everybody's welcome. All right? Everybody's welcome. All right, but before I begin, let me just introduce co-panelists who just popped in. Sen Sanjeti Ankara, aka the brother Sanjeti. So I don't know if you want to just, quickly introduce yourself and just get your popcorn real quick. I don't know.
All right, hotep, brother, hotep. Just catching what's going on here. Sanjeti, most of you, know me. Many of you are students of Wujao. Some of you are my students. And just all African people out there. But I would like to read something in spirit of the current events. Let me read something. Signs and symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder.
Wait, you want to share it? I'm sorry. You want to share your screen, or are you just gonna read it?
Well, I'm going to read it. I'm gonna read it because this is on my phone. I'm looking at my laptop.
Oh, all right. No problem. Sorry. No problem.
Okay. Now, in fact, while I'm doing that, are you able to just pull it up and pull up on the screen, maybe?
Yeah. If you send me the link, I'll pull it up. If there's a link, but if not, then then now you can just.
I'll just read it. That's cool.
Okay.
All right. Signs and symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder, and the severity of symptoms vary. People with the disorder can have an exaggerated sense of self-importance, have a sense of entitlement, and require constant, excessive admiration, expect to be recognized as superior even without achievements that warrant it, exaggerate achievements and talents, be preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate, believe they are superior and can only associate with equally special people, monopolize conversations, and belittle or look down on people they perceive as inferior, or talk trash about people and block them from coming on the show. Expect special favors and unquestioning compliance with their expectations. Take advantage of others to get what they want. Have an inability or willingness to recognize the needs and feelings of others. Be envious of others and believe others envy them, or believe other people are afraid of them. Behave in an arrogant or haughty manner, coming across as conceited, boastful, and pretentious. Insist on having the best of everything. For instance, the best car or office. At the same time, people with narcissistic personality disorder have trouble handling anything they perceive as criticism, and they can become impatient or angry when they don't receive special treatment, have significant interpersonal problems, and easily feel slighted. react with rage or contempt, and try to belittle the other person to make themselves appear superior. We almost done, y'all. Have difficulty regulating your emotions and behavior. Experience major problems dealing with stress and adapting to change. Feel depressed and moody because they fall short of perfection. Lastly, have secret feelings of insecurity, shame, vulnerability, and humiliation. Ladies and gentlemen, you can look that definition up in the Bible of Psychology, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Currently, they're on volume 5. It also says to see a doctor when you have multiple of these symptoms. So, Brother Wujao, if you did not know, I'd like to inform you that you are experiencing perhaps I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, but it is possible, and I highly recommend that, or highly suggest that you know someone with narcissistic personality disorder of the classical type.
Yeah, I share those exact same sentiments. So I'm definitely with you. I'm 100% on that. Chief X, and I would like to even at in the future have a series of conversations on mental health, mental illnesses, and things like that, because I think that that's a slept on topic that's talked about, because mental health is something that is very easily goes undiagnosed, because we don't know the ins and outs of certain conditions and the signs and symptoms of those conditions, and so it becomes the norm to us, and so it goes without being mentioned. So I would like to actually engage in those conversations, maybe during the spring, set up a series of conversations about that. You know.
And I think I would like to join you in those discussions. Because at my place of employment, we do deal with people with, mental and personality, because there's mental disorders, there's personality disorders. So these are things we have to definitely be aware of. And because even things like suicide, all those things is an issue in the Black community that we're not talking about enough, on the grassroots level. So we
Right.
got to bring that to the forefront, and how that plays, especially in our online interactions. In fact, one of my classes now, we just got finished reading an article called "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" So anybody looked it up, take a look at the article. It brings up some really good points. Because when we're dealing with things online, or confrontations and disagreements online, remember, people do things to the degree in which there's consequences and rewards. See, and when you're online, people have this sense of distance. It's a virtual and physical distance. So they'll say things to you that he or she would normally not say to you face to face, because they feel that safety net of distance. Because, oh, you can't touch me, so I can say what I want. You know what I'm saying? But if you were face to face, you wouldn't do that. So they feel that safety net. It's that buffer, that digital buffer. And that shows a lot about the character of that person. When they start, blabbing off, hitting the keys, and saying all kind of crazy stuff that you can't take back. But you would not have done that had that person been standing in front of you. Buja, you've experienced that with people. I've experienced it with people, but I've never experienced you actually dishonoring somebody online. I don't dishonor people online. It's a character thing. Now we can have disagreements. We can debate on intellectual topics, but when people go into the name calling and all that kind of stuff, or doing what our brother Chief X is doing, and actually I really believe that he needs help.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I mean, and I hope he's listening. I hope he's
Yeah,
listening
I have the
because
panel link. The panel link is pinned to the top, so hopefully he will come on here, so I can
yeah,
demonstrate to him that no one fears him, as he claims. So
not
I think the word retarded has been used in a pejorative way by a lot of people, so that word is not very politically correct to associate with people. But the definition of the word retarded, or to retard something, is to diminish, to slow, to halt, and to prevent from moving forward, and so on and so forth. And so these topics, I made a comment speaking about the topics, retarded topics, not retarded people, but retarded topics that hinder us from progression. And so these repeated topics over and over again that has been already settled, that people cannot add to the body of knowledge, are in fact doing exactly what the word retarded means. So identify those topics as zombie retarded topics. And this is just one of them. The core of these arguments are right up under that umbrella, and that's how I categorize them. But right now, I want to get into what he was saying today. And again, I'm only doing this because he refused. See, my thing is solution. I'm a solutionist, and so disagreement is welcomed. Like we should never shun away or push away disagreement, because disagreement can be very healthy for any situation. So, but when there's disagreement, you're supposed to be mature enough and have the elements of character, in order to work out the disagreement, or have a discussion about the disagreement, because two people who disagree on an issue may be ignorant of certain facts of the issue that had they not been ignorant about, it wouldn't be a disagreement in the first place. And so with Chief X, I exercise the exact same thing. Chief X disagrees with some people, including me now. So I come straight to him, despite him accusing me of being fearful. I really don't know where that came from. To his channel, asked him if I could join his panel, to him send me a link. He refused to do so, and while refusing to do so, he's talking a lot of immature rhetoric and so on and so forth. So this is why I'm live right now, and any of his fans that may be watching now, or supporters, or whatever the case is, please let him know that he's welcome at any point, if he when he shuts down his live, or whatever the case is. All right, so anyway, so let me just jump into it, because this is going to be a teaching moment for some. It's going to be a reminder or refresher for others, and then some of you all are just here, just here, and I appreciate you all. All right, okay, so let me just share my screen, and I want to outline what Chief X is saying, because I want to make things very clear. All right, so give me the opportunity here. Okay, so hopefully you all can see my screen. I have to make it bigger. All right, so we're full screen here. Remove this, and now we're back in business. Okay, so here are a summary of 3 issues that are that have some kind of problem with what Chief X is saying versus what I'm saying. All right, so I outline it here in summary form to make it very clear to everyone. So number one, this is Chief X's claim. Now I'm paraphrasing, obviously, because I already went through playing his videos. I played clips. I played his whole video in one time. So you can go to the archives here to see me do that. So for the sake of time, I'm just giving a summary and paraphrasing his claims as of today. So number one, he says that the image from the website called the Theban Mapping Project. Matter of fact, let me add that. Theban Mapping Project, a website that he uses, is not a representation of the ancient Egyptians, but rather a representation of Nubians as captioned on the website. Okay, and I'm going to show you all that in a second. That's point or claim number one by Chief X, and he reiterated that tonight. Number two, he says, and this is a new claim of his. In the last few days, he made this claim that the word remech does not refer to the ancient Egyptians. He claimed that Afrocentrists made up that referent, or that the remech refers to the ancient Egyptians. All right, that's number two. Number three is an extension of number two. He said that the word remech should be the word reth. All right, and it shouldn't be remech. And so he's totally dismissive of the word remech itself. And then he says it doesn't refer to ancient Egyptians. That's what he said at first. Now today, he moved the goalpost a little bit on number two. He stuck with number one, but on number two, he slightly switched up a little bit. And he only switched up because he saw my video where I actually showed several dictionary entries where the word remech does actually refer to the ancient Egyptians. But here's the thing. Well, let me just go down them in order. So let's deal with number one first. All right. So I got the outline here on the screen. So you all keep all the claims in mind. I'm going to walk down one by one. It's only three, so this shouldn't take too long. All right. So, and make sure if you have anything to share, click the link. The panel link is in the chat. I'm going to keep reminding you all of that because on our channel, we encourage interaction. Okay, so number one, to reiterate, this is Chief X, his claim. The image on a Theban mapping project is not a representation of the ancient Egyptians, but rather a representation of Nubians as captioned on the website. Now, here's the slight backdrop of that, of why he's making that claim. Because the image looks a certain way. The figure that he shows looks a certain way. And he's refusing to believe it's up under and attached to Chief X's bigger argument that the ancient Egyptians were not black, and all of the silliness that comes with those arguments. Okay, so this is like an appendage of his bigger arguments. All right, and so he utilized a picture, or he searched on the website and found a picture, and the picture is captioned and it says Nubians under it. So I'm about to show you all that. So let me switch over so you all can see that. All right, so you all should be able to see the website. This is the website, thebanmappingproject.com. All right, in fact, I'm going to post the link in the chat so that all you all will have access to it. So here's the link to this website. Bookmark it if you want to do further research. All right. So this is the site that he pulled up, the Theban Mapping Project, a project of the American Research Center in Egypt. Now, this is the picture that Chief X utilized to make his point. So you see two figures here, and you see some glyphs above their head. Now, it should be very obvious that this picture is cropped. This is a cropped picture taken from a larger scene, obviously. Okay? But for this picture, you only see two figures, excuse me. And you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns of glyphs that's cut off at the top. So you can tell that this picture is cropped. Now, underneath of it, the caption says, Nubians, in the 5th hour of the Book of Gates in the Tomb of Ramses III. All right. So Chief X is using the fact that this website is showing this picture and calling them Nubians to argue that whenever people use this picture to say that they are the Egyptians, those people are lying. That's the spirit behind Chief X's argument. Okay, and just to give some insight on that, the brother Jonathan Owens, as we know, Smash Rockwell, the Magi, he showed a reproduction of one of these figures where it shows that it represents, in this particular tomb, the ancient Egyptians. And Chief X had a problem with that and said that Jonathan Owens is lying, and he showed a photoshopped image, and he went to the whole thing. So I'm not going to deal with that aspect. I've already done that. But here is what I'm going to share with you all and hopefully edify you all with. Now, I've done this before, so this time around, I should be able to do this quicker. All right. Now, what I want you all to do is to avoid me from giving a lesson on the ancient Egyptian language and the hieroglyphs and things like that, which will take a long time to do. What I want you to do is visually just try to memorize these glyphs here in this column where you can see my arrow. All right. But as a matter of fact, so you all can see this very clear, remember, this is the website. So I want to show the website itself, but I have this picture as well. And now I'll be able to point things out on the picture. So I'm going to switch over to that. Give me one moment to switch my screen over to it. All right. Because I want to be clear every single step of the way. And let me get my switched over. You all bear with me quickly here. All right. Okay, so as you can see on the screen now, I have the exact same picture on the screen. All I did, I simply downloaded the image, and so I can have access to it and point things out. So now I can use my arrows. So what I want you all to do is to visually memorize these glyphs. Okay, and like I said, I'm not trying to give a lesson on the glyphs, but I want you all to be clear on the points that I'm making. So I'm going to tell you what these glyphs are. This is an open mouth, and remember this order. You have an open mouth. You have what's called a tethering rope, second glyph. Glyph number 3 is a stylized kneeled man with his arm extended. Okay, that's number 3. Number 4 is a seated deity with a royal beard, that curved beard that you may be familiar with. Seated deity with a curved beard. That's glyph number 4. And glyph number 5 is 3 strokes. Okay, open mouth, tethering rope, a stylized kneeling man with his arm extended, seated deity with a royal beard, and 3 strokes. All right, now just visually remember that. Now, this seated deity with a curved beard, you also see it down here. All right, these 3 strokes that you see here, you also see it right here. you see 2 of the 3 strokes. The third stroke is actually cut off. It's right at the edge of where this picture was cropped. You see 2 of the 3 strokes. There's another stroke that you can't see. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the full scene. Now, this website, Theban Mapping Project, only has a cropped picture of this scene. So we're gonna go in the tomb. This is the tomb of Ramses III, by the way. As a matter of fact, let me make it clear. I don't want to leave any stones unturned. This is the tomb of Ramses III. Okay. Specifically, the portion of the tomb that contains a text called the Book of Gates. All right. Now let's take a little detour a little bit. The Book of Gates, what is that? The Book of Gates is one of ancient Egypt's underworld texts, and it's a text that exists in several tombs. If you're familiar with the so-called Book of the Dead, you should also be familiar with the fact that there are several copies of the Book of the Dead found in various different tombs and places all throughout Egypt and all throughout Egypt's history. Okay? Starting at a certain point, leading all the way to the downfall of the kingdom. So you have the Book of the Dead of Ani, you have the Book of the Dead of Hunefer, the Book of the Dead of so-and-so, and the Book of the Dead of so-and-so. So you have several books of the dead that are found all throughout Egypt. So the Book of Gates is similar in that sense. You have the Book of Gates that is in the tomb of Ramses III. You have the Book of Gates that's in the tomb of Seti I. You have the Book of Gates that's in the tomb of Merneptah. You have the Book of Gates in the tomb of Ramses VI. Just to name some of them off the top of my head. All right. So, but it's the same text. Same title, same text, the Book of Gates. This particular one that we're looking at is in the tomb of Ramses III. All right, so I just want to make that clear. That's a little detour. So now we're back on the highway. All right. So now I'm going to share with you all this same image, but the fuller image of it within the tomb itself. All right. And here we are. Okay, so now we're in the tomb of Ramses III, and we have a broader shot, a broader photo of this particular wall in the tomb. All right. Now, before I explain anything or go further, let me try my best to illustrate something to you. Because like I said, I don't want to, this is my 3rd time doing this, and I want to be as clear as I can, but at the same time as concise as I can, because I don't want to drag this out. What I want to show you is, let me fatten up this line. So what I'm doing, I'm putting a line here. This line represents a wall. Okay, so we're in the tomb. Y'all bear with me. I hope you all got some, got your water, your tea next to you. So you all, y'all gonna learn something today. This is the tomb of Ramses III. Okay, I'm just trying to keep everything nice and neat. So this is a wall, and then we have another wall adjacent to it. All right, that forms a 90-degree angle. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with now, because I want you all to be orientated with me. All right, and matter of fact, let me make this wall longer, like how it is in the actual tomb. This wall is a little longer. Okay, so now, if you're walking in the tomb, as a matter of fact, let me do it this way. If you're walking in the tomb, in this direction, you're coming in the tomb in this direction. This wall is going to be on our left. And on this left wall is where you're gonna see 4 figures. Okay, so matter of fact, let me make this a different color. All right, so along this wall, right about here where my arrow is, this is where we are. So we're standing facing that wall. Now notice the corner. What I want you to notice in this picture, look at the corner. You see the corner of the tomb? Then there's an adjacent wall. So you have to make a 90-degree turn to go down this wall. All right. So again, we're right here, and here's the corner. That's the corner right there. So we're looking at that wall. The green arrow, we're looking at that wall. All right. Now on this wall, we're gonna do it like this. Along this wall, we're gonna have the Egyptians. And as you're gonna see, we're gonna see the other groups along this wall. About right here, you're gonna see the Asiatics, and then next to them, Nubians. Now, if anybody knows me, I do not use the word Nubian. I recommend that we stop using the word Nubian, but for the sake of people following along and without me, explaining all of that, I'm putting the word Nubians here. But the word I encourage people to use are the Nehisiu. Okay, so I'm going to put that below it. And then beside them, lastly, you're going to see another group of people, the Libyans. Okay, so the Egyptians are on this wall. Then the Asiatics, you curve around, Nubians, or Nehisiu, as I say, and then the Libyans. Okay, so keep all of this in mind. This is what we're going to see, and I'm going to demonstrate and show you all of this. Now, going back in the tomb. So here we are. Notice that there are 4 figures here: 1, 2, 3, and 4. And when you turn 90 degrees on this wall, you see the first figure of 4 figures. So let's go back to the diagram. So each section has 4 figures. All right, so each one has 4. I'm not going to type 4 for the sake of time, but each one of these groupings has 4 figures for a total of 16 figures. Now, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna slow this conversation down, so because listen, I have to do this for people. So 16 figures in all. They're 4. They're 4 each. All right, so we're gonna, as long as you all know there's 4 each. I would hate to. Nah, I'm gonna do it. I'm trying to be, like I said, I'm trying to be concise and do this at the same time. So bear with me. 4 and 4. All right, they're 4 figures each. Total of 16 figures in all. This is true for all of the Book of Gates in the tombs that I had mentioned earlier. Okay, and I'm going to show you Seti the First's tomb as well. But right now we're in Ramses III. Why? Because that's the picture that the Theban Mapping Project website used. All right, so back to the tomb. So we got 4 figures here. Now there's text above their heads, all of them. If you wrap around the wall, there's text above here. The text is actually the book. They call them the Book of Gates. That's the text of the book. Now, in these figures, between each figure, they have labeled who these figures represent. Okay? And this is in between all 16 figures. So what the ancient Egyptian scribes did was they spelled out who these people were by breaking up the word and sticking it in between each figure. So remember the glyphs that I told you all to memorize, visually memorize. All right, on the Theban mapping image. So let's go back to it real quick. So we have the open mouth, the tethering rope, the stylized kneeling man with an arm extended, the seated deity with the royal beard that's curved, and the 3 strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 glyphs. All right. Notice the placement of the glyphs. These glyphs are right in between these 2 figures in a column. Also in between these 2 figures is the seated deity with the royal curved beard, and the 3 strokes in front of this figure. Okay. Now, just for extra confirmation, let's just glance at these glyphs next to the column that I told you all to memorize. So notice that we have a hand. I'm telling you what these glyphs are. This is a hand, an arm. Okay. This is a papyrus roll that's tied, a tied papyrus roll. These are 3 water ripples. And this last glyph here is a door bolt. Okay. And like I said, I'm not trying to give a lesson on the glyphs right now, but just to identify them for you visually so you can remember this. Okay. So let's go back to the tomb. What I want to point out to you is that we're looking at the exact same spot in the tomb that the Theban map's picture is. Okay, except this picture is not cropped. So how do we know this, Wujau? Look at the glyphs. Right in between the 2 figures, we have the open mouth. We have the tethering rope. We have the stylized kneeling man with the arms extended, the seated deity with the curved royal beard, and the 3 strokes. And remember what I just told you all, where I said let's confirm by looking at some glyphs in the next column. We have the arm with the hand, the tied papyrus scroll, the 3 water ripples, and the door bolt. So this is emphatically the exact same spot in the tomb. Where are we in the tomb? We're right here. We're looking at this corner here. All right. Now, I put Egyptian right here already. The Theban map folks are calling these people Nubians. Regardless of the prestige of the authors behind the website, the technical people, the Theban map institution, the funding and all of that, all of their credentials, anybody and everybody can make a mistake, mislabel something, or have an oversight. You know, they may miss something. And that is the case with that web page and this picture. It is mislabeled. All right. It's mislabeled. And so I am right now in the middle of demonstrating and proving that to you all, that it's mislabeled. They're calling these 2 figures Nubians when in fact they're representing the ancient Egyptians. All right. So this word here, now I haven't even told you what this word is. I just want you all to visually memorize these glyphs, these 5 glyphs. Same 5. So you see the open mouth right here. Open mouth right here. All right, let's make some correlations here. Open mouth up here, open mouth down here. Tethering rope right here. Tethering rope right here. Stylized kneeling man with his arm extended. Stylized kneeling man with his arm extended. Seated deity with the curved beard. Seated deity with the curved beard. 3 strokes. 3 strokes. So as you can plainly see, this word right here, whatever it is, and again, I haven't said what it is yet, but whatever this word is here is the same word right here. It's just split apart in between each of these 4 figures. Okay? So I want you all to make sure you follow me on that. And by the way, I can't see the chat right now. So if you all are commenting or whatever, I can't see it. So bear with me and I will be able to pay attention to the chat. All right? So to continue, I hope y'all got it so far, you know, because like I said, I like interaction and you know, it's a little challenge for me to not be able to get some immediate feedback from you all and the lag time and delay on YouTube. All right. So, but I'm gonna get through this. So what I have established right now is where we are in the tomb. First of all, we're in the tomb of Ramses III. I have established where we are in the tomb, which is right here on this left wall. Okay. And I have established that the Theban mapping website is utilizing a cropped image of this portion of the tomb. How did I establish that? I established by matching the glyphs that you see in both pictures. This picture is just a better picture because it shows more of the scene. Also, what I've established so far is that whatever this word is right here is the same as this word right here. Okay, so those are all the things I have established so far, and I hope you all are with me. Now let's continue. So, where to go to next? Okay, well, now let me tell you what this particular word represents. Let me give you a clearer rendition of the word. So I'm gonna change my screen here, and I want to show you in a more clearer form of the glyphs what those glyphs are in the word. So you see this top left set of glyphs here. This is the word that we are dealing with. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 glyphs. And it spells out the exact same thing that you're seeing within the tomb. All right? Now, this particular word, I'm informing you now, is the word remech. This is how we say it today, although the pronunciation is never meant to be taken as historically accurate. Why? Because the hieroglyphic writing system did not document vowels. So when we say remech, we're inserting vowels in order to be able to pronounce the word. Vowels are the voice of languages. In fact, the very word vowel comes from vocalis, which means voice. All right, as an FYI. So scholars have standardized and created a convention to stick an E in between the consonants. So this is why we pronounce most of the words with a schwa or a short E sound. So we say seneb, we say remech, we'll say, what's another word? Pair, hair, with an E in between all of the different consonants, okay? So we conventionally pronounce this word as remech. Now we transliterate this word, and I'm going to show you how it's transliterated in a hot second. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to, well, I don't want to show that tomb just yet. So let me spell it out for you all. This is how we transliterate it. RM capital T. This is a transliteration system called manual decodage. So I want you all to take note of that. Write it down. Manual decodage. It is a transliteration system that we all use, those of us who study and deal and teach with the ancient Egyptian language. There's another transliteration system that makes use of diacritic marks. So I'm going to give you all that one as well, so you all can see both ways in which it's transliterated. All right. So this one is transliterated in this way, diacritic marks. So you may see it with RM with a lowercase t, but with a line under it. They're the exact same. These are just two different transliteration schemes that scholars use, that we use. I use them both. It depends on which medium of publication that you're using. So as an FYI, the manual decodage version is done for digital media, like online and emails, like websites and things like that, because you don't need any special fonts for it or a special keyboard. But the diacritic version is used in proper publications, in books, and in scholarly works. In scholarly works, you'll see, in most scholarly works, I should say, you'll see the diacritic version. But nevertheless, this is the word remech. This is how we transliterate it. And let me move these two down. Now, how we spell it and based on the way it's pronounced, this is how scholars spell it out and pronounce it. Remech. That TCH has a sound like a church, like the word church, the CH in church. Remech. Okay? This is what this set of glyphs represent. Now, what does the word Remech actually mean? So now we're going to the meaning of the word. The word means people. It also means, in the plural, it means people. But it can also mean man or men, but not men as in males only. It's men as in mankind. Human beings. Okay, so you'll see it in dictionaries as men, mankind, people, human beings, and so on. So that's what the word literally means. But which people? So the context of where this word is used will indicate to you and to me and us all, what people is being referred to. And in this particular tomb, let's go back to the tomb. In this particular tomb, the word Remech is being used to designate a certain group of people apart from other groups of people that are also in the tomb. 3 other groups. So it would make no sense to take the word literally to mean human being when you have 4 sets of human beings, but only one set is called human beings. The other set are not called the same word. The other sets they don't use the word Remech. So the logical argument that Chief X makes that the word just means people, or whatever the case is, or that it doesn't mean Egyptians, is fallacious. All right, it falls to the wayside. So here's the truth about the word Remech, the use of it. The word Remech on its own, singled out, it connotes man, like I said, mankind, people. But used in different contexts, it refers to specific people. And it was used so much in ancient Egypt to refer to the people of Egypt that it carried the meaning of the Egyptians. Okay? And I'm going to show and demonstrate that a little later on. Once I get past these 3 points, I'm going to come back to this because I'm going to show some other scholarship and papers on that particular topic. People have done full dissertation and thesis on this point that I know people like Chief X don't read and have no idea that it even exists, because this is not Chief X's lane. This is not what he studies. Okay? And so he should have no business trying to argue with people about this. All right? But I'm going to come back to that. So let's keep it moving. So now let's look at the other figures in this same tomb. Well, before I do that, let's switch tombs. And so I want to take a detour. So you all bear with me. I want to take a detour and let's walk into the tomb of Seti the First. Okay? Here's the tomb of Seti the First. Now, what I want you to notice, take note of, we have 4 figures here. So let me just identify these figures for you. So we have a figure here. This is the figure of Heru. Horus, as most people know this figure as, Horus or Heru. In front of Heru, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 figures. Then we have a corner of the wall. Make note of that. The corner of the wall. And then the figures continue on to the next wall. Now, unlike the Tomb of Ramses III, once you hit the 4 figures, the wall was right there. The corner of the wall was right there. But in this particular tomb, there's more room. So they put 2 of the other figures on the same wall as these first 4 figures and then kept it going. Now, remember the glyphs that I told you all to memorize. We have an open mouth. We have a tethering rope here. We have a kneeling man. This one's not stylized, by the way, because I want y'all to pay attention to how I'm describing this. In the Tomb of Ramses III, it was a stylized kneeling man with his arm extended. In this particular tomb, this one's not stylized. This one is actually the kneeling man with his arm extended that you can see clearly. This figure here is the seated or squatting deity with the royal curved beard, or a seated woman. This is how the word is usually spelled, those two variations. This particular tomb has a seated woman. Okay? So you got a kneeling man and a seated woman. Then you have 3 strokes right there. These 4 figures are the same people, the Remech. 1, 2, 3, 4. This 4th figure is faded. As you all know, these tombs are thousands of years old, so we can't expect the paint to be vibrant as if they were just painted yesterday. So these 4 figures represent the Remech. Now, let's do the exercise we did before again. See the text up above them? Look at the glyphs. Open mouth, tethering rope, kneeling man with a hand extended, the seated woman in this case, and the 3 strokes. Same word, Remech, right there in the text above. What text is this? This is the same text that's in the Tomb of Ramses III. It's the same book, the Book of Gates. It's the same text. All this text is going around here is saying the same thing. Okay? So, of course, right above the Remech, you're going to find the word Remech in the text. Remech in the text, Remech between the figures. Okay? Now, there's a scholar of old in early Egyptology German scholar by the name of Karl Lepsius. Karl Lepsius is one of the scholars, just one of the scholars, to reproduce this text in his book by drawing, some of the what's called vignettes. These are the illustrations that accompany text. All right? And so in his book, I'm going to show you, he has give me 1 second. I want to show you his book right here. This is a page out of his book. This is a reproduction of the tomb of Seti I, the tomb we just left. Okay, not the tomb of Ramses III. This is Seti I. All right. So as you can see, we have Heru here. Hold on, let me blow this up. I got to make sure you all see everything. Blow it up. All right, we're going to bring it down to about right there. All right, good enough, good enough. So we have Heru here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 identical figures representing who? The Remech. You see the glyphs in between them. The mouth, tethering rope, kneeling man, seated woman, 3 strokes. Then you have the 2 figures here. Then it's cut off. It's cut off because this is the corner. Then he continues it up here because it goes on the other wall. So you have 2 more of the 4. So see how these are 2? The other 2 are here. You have 4 sets of these figures, and then 4 sets of these figures, adding up to 16. All right? So I'm showing you this because the Book of Gates always has a representation of these 4 nations of people, and in the same order. No matter what tomb you visit, it's in the same order. The Remech are first, the Amu are second, which are these 4 figures here, and you see the glyphs in front of them. It spells out Amu. The next 4 figures are the Nehisiu, and then the last 4 figures are the Chemehu. Now, who they represent? I gave you the Egyptian terms: Remech, Amu, Nehisiu, Chemehu. How are those terms translated? The Remech are the ancient Egyptians. The Amu are the Asiatics. The Nehisiu they translate it as the Nubians. The Chamehu are the Libyans. So you got the Egyptians, the Asiatics, the Nubians, and the Libyans. Notice that these three nations outside of Egypt are Egypt's immediate neighbors. They're their immediate neighbors. The Nahisiu are from the south. Libyans are from the west. Asiatics are from the east. And the Egyptians themselves. They don't represent the north because the north had the Mediterranean Sea. All right, so these are around the cardinal points. All right, but that's the order. Okay, so now let's go back into the tomb of Ramses III. I wanted to show you all that these are always laid out this way. So now we're going to go back into the tomb of Ramses III. This is where we were. So we're on that wall. So the first group, remember the order is important. The first group is always the Remech, the Egyptians. The second group is always the Amu, the Asiatics. Third group, Nahisi or Nubians, and then the Libyans. This is the first group. So what group is this? I just told you, the Amu, although we can't see it. But let me switch pictures and we're going to see it. All right. So now let me orientate everyone where we are now. So now we're the orientation that we're looking at is right here. Now we're looking this direction where my blue arrow is. Okay, so to the left of us is going to be the Egyptians. In front of us are going to be Asiatics. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now. Right here. So to the left, you see on that wall right there, those are the ancient Egyptians, where the word Remech is. Along this wall, you have four. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the Amu. And you can see the glyphs in between them. These are the Asiatics. Remember, order is important. Egyptians, Asiatics, Nubians, and further over here are the Libyans. Now you can't see it because of the glare of this glass. In case you all can't see it clearly, this right here is glass. Okay, they in the tomb they have glass in front of all of these glyphs here, and so this is showing a reflection of what you see right here. That's why you can't see the images on the other side. Okay, just as an FYI. But that's where we are. All right. So let's continue. I'm gonna show you another picture. We're walking through the tomb, y'all. This is something that Chief X did not do, won't do, and I believe he won't think to do because this is not his lane. This is not his study. He doesn't study this stuff. All right. So here we are on another picture. So where are we? So I gotta show you my orientation. Now we've moved down a little bit. We're about right here now, inside the tomb. We're about right here. Okay, just so you know where we are. Because we can still see some of the Amu here. 3 of the figures we see. You can ignore this one right here. This is a reflection. See, this whole thing is glass right here. So now this glass is reflecting this figure. Like this figure is that reflection. So the 4th figure is blocked. You can't really see it. Or the first of the 4. So we got the other 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, of the Amu. But in front of the Amu are now we're getting to the Nubians. Now we get into the nitty gritty. This is these 4 are the Nubians. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, I repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where the Nubians are in the tomb. And I just want you to notice something, that if you look at the glyphs, and let me see if I have a better picture of it. Well, I'm going to have to blow this picture up. So move my arrow out the way, because I want you all to see the glyphs. I'm going to prove, what I'm doing now is proving to you that this picture that the Theban mapping website has is not this section of the wall where the Nubians actually are. They're showing you the section of the wall where the Remech are, who are the ancient Egyptians. As I said, you see the glyphs up here? All right, but let me go back over here, and I'm going to blow this one up so we can see it clearly, clear as possible. And these pictures are pretty high quality, which is why I'm able to blow them up, and it should be still clear to you all. Okay, let me get my arrow down here. So this is the first of the Nubian, second, third, and fourth. Okay. Now I want you to see that in between. Let's just pretend hypothetically that these are the two figures that the Theban map project took a picture of, because they only have 2 out of the 4. Okay, so let's pretend that that the shot that they took are of these 2. Well, we know that's not the case, because none of the glyphs right here in between these 2 figures match the picture. You don't see the open mouth. You don't see the tethering rope. You see a tethering rope right here, but you don't see the same combination: open mouth, tethering rope, kneeling man, seated deity, and then 3 strokes. Nowhere in between here. You see 3 strokes for other words. This is not the same position. And in between the 2 figures, we don't see the seated deity. See it right here? You don't see that in the tomb where the Nubians actually are. Okay? So I am actually showing you where they go wrong. Whoop, let's go back. Okay. So let's pretend that that the pictures of these 2. Or no, let's say it was these 2. Let's just go down the line. Let's say it was a picture of these 2. Well, guess what? None of these glyphs match either. And what's in between doesn't match either. See, what's in between is the seated deity, and the glyphs above spell out what I told you all to memorize, visually memorize, right? All right, that's not it. So even if these 2 figures were the snapshot, we know it's not, because the glyphs do not match. The only place the glyphs match their picture is in this picture that I showed you right here, which shows the actual Remech, which are the Egyptians. But let's keep going. Let's pretend that these 2 figures are the shot that they took. Well, we can categorically falsify that. Why? Because look at the damage. The figure wouldn't be whole. You see how the figure is whole in that picture? You can see the whole figure right here. There's no major damage in between, and you can see all the glyphs above that, right? But let's go back to my picture. Look at that. Look at the damage. It stretches all the way up the wall right here, where the glyphs right here in the middle have fallen away because of the age of the tomb and everything. So we know that's not the picture. But guess what? We ran out of figures. So none of these figures are in the picture that was used by the Theban mapping project. So again, Wujau's claim, my claim, is 100% accurate, which is to say that the Theban mapping project website simply mislabeled this picture. This is a picture of 2 of the 4 Remech, who we know as the ancient Egyptians in this particular text called the Book of Gates. But they labeled them as Nubians incorrectly. And because of it, and because Chief X, this is not Chief X lane whatsoever, he just Googled anything and found this site, and it said it labeled it as Nubians, and he ran with it. So today on his live stream, he says that the website is produced by credentialed people and you know, it's institutes and stuff like that. These are experts and stuff like that. He's not going to listen to a person like me, Wujau. He's going to go with the experts. Fine. He can appeal to authority all he wants to. That's a logical fallacy, by the way. But can he demonstrate support for it? He says that as if experts can't make mistakes. And we don't even know who actually is responsible for putting the website up or the web page up. They could have some technical guy and typist that could have mislabeled it or what have you. We don't know. But the point is that it's wrong on their website. And I'm proving it to you. I'm not just saying this, I'm proving it to you. All right? So let's go back to the picture. So we can see these glyphs up here and everything. So that is, let's go back to, and mind you, where I am in the tomb, let me move the cursor down. We're right about here now in the tomb. This picture is about right there. Now, in front of the Nehesiu, what they say Nubians, are going to be the Chemehu, or the Libyans. That's further down. But obviously this picture is cut off. And there's a wall, there's a column. So if I move this over, this is a column right here that's blocking the view. Okay, so you can't see it from this angle. But there's 4 more figures going down the wall. So let's switch pictures because I want to show you those 4 figures. And see, here are 3 of those 4 figures as you continue down the wall. So this picture, we're orientated. Now we're down here. We're about right here. So every picture I'm showing you, I'm letting you all know where we are in the tomb. I'm showing you the orientation. So right now, we're about right here. So we're about to the right of the Libyans. And that's where we are. So you got 1. Well, this is actually figure number 2 because the first one is to the right of here, out of this cropped picture. So this is really figure 2, 3, and 4. And then those 4 sets of 4 stop. And then the text goes on and explains something else. These figures here are doing something totally different. Okay? Just as an FYI. But these are the last 3 figures of the 4 Libyans. And the word is Chemehu. So here are all 4 words together. Where's my other page? Here. So we have the Remech, we have the Amu, we have the Nehesiu, and we have the Chemehu. Egyptians, Asiatics, Nubians, Libyans. In that order, every single time. All right? So what is that? That is point number 1. So point number 1, let's put a star by it. So point number 1 that Chief X made has now officially, for the 3rd time, been debunked or refuted. Okay? Done deal. So I'm going to pause for a second because I want to check out the chat. I want to see if you all been following me and if anybody has any questions before I move on to number 2 and number 3. Because number 2 and number 3 are going to be real quick. So let me take my screen off here. And we're going to get back. I want to see the chat. I need some feedback. So you all let me know. Now I know there's a delay in the chat as far as the chat goes. So you all let me know something. Tell me you understood. Just say, hey, I understand, or say I follow. If you follow what I said and it's clear, let me know. I can see the chat. All right. Tiarka says, hold up, let me get over here on the chat. Let me post some of your comments up. So I'm taking a little intermission, but I want to interact with you guys, right? So Tiarka says the Remech were North African. The Remech were Egyptian, and Egypt is in Northeast Africa. Yes. Let's see who else. Desharab says, yes, Badman. All right, cool. Anybody else? Come on, y'all give me some you gonna give me some feedback. Now, mind you, the link is pinned to the top. So I doubt if Chief X is still live. If Chief X is still live right now, man, that's crazy. But if he's not, one of his fans, one of Chief X fans, one of you guys who ride for Chief X, give him the link. All right, give him the link, so we can settle this in real time, like scholars do. Because like I said, I don't, I'm not. I would not debate Chief X. There's not too many people that I would debate. Period. Because I take the sentiment of Dr. John Henry Clarke. I will only debate a person I feel is my equal. Everybody else, I'll teach, and I'll teach Chief X. Let's see what else. Anything. All right. Well, listen. If y'all are following, I'm gonna continue. Okay, Mike Speed, Hotep, peace to you. The fact that you did the orientation and location on the walls was key. All right, cool. Appreciate it. That's my job. My job is to make things clear. Like I do my best to make it clear. I've been teaching for a large portion of my entire life. Even not the profession of a teacher, like at a school, but pretty much my adult life has been in the role of teacher. No matter what profession or job I had, I always, for some reason, took the role of a teacher because I had to train or teach people. Even back in the day, I was teaching and training people who made way more money than me. I'm up here showing them how to do stuff, and they making, way more money than me. But yet here I am teaching them and showing them and training them how to do things. I'm like, wait a minute, something wrong here. But I was young. When you're younger, you just take it because you feel like it's set up that way because you're young. But anyway, what else we got going on? Okay, Teddy says clear. All right, cool. All right, so I'm going to continue. Obi-Wan Kenobi said there's no getting around it. The culture came from Seti, who were the Nahisi majority. Okay. And Fritz, I agree with you. The brother Chief X is not interested in. X is not interested in learning Chinese. I don't know. I must have missed that joke. All right, so let me continue, y'all. So let's move on to the other points here. Alrighty. So remember, point number 1, Chief X's claim has been thoroughly refuted. So whether you're a fan of Chief X or you riding for him or whatever, you watch his shows, he brings it up. It's upon you now to educate him and to let him know that he's wrong. All right, tell him to watch this video because like I said, he's welcome to. He's probably watching now, right now. I wouldn't put it past him. All right, but let's move on to number 2. So number 2, Chief X's claim is that the word Remech does not refer to the ancient Egyptians. Now, like I said before, let's put a little. Let me put a little. Let's see, what can I put right here? Let's put a little square right here. Let's make it yellow though. I'm gonna put a little caution square right here right now because Chief X made a matter of factly claim for the first time around. Okay, he said that Afrocentrists are the ones who made up the meaning of the word Remech to mean Egyptians. Okay, but as of today, from what I heard him say today, I should say, he moved the goalpost a little bit because he said that the word Remech, or this word, means people, but then it also means Egyptians as a side, as a related word, as he put it. He said it's a related word. And even him wording it like that, you can tell Chief X doesn't know what he's talking about because it's not a related word. The word Egypt is not related to the word Remech. There's not a relation there. There's only a relation in as far as a referent, but the words themselves are not related to each other. Okay, Egypt or Egyptians comes directly from its lineage would go back to the Greek form of the word Egyptos, and then Egyptos goes back to the form Hutka Ptah, as most scholars have pretty much has a consensus on that the word Egypt traces back to ultimately to the Egyptian word Hutka Ptah, the temple of the spirit of Ptah. People translate it a little slightly different than each other, but that's the rough translation. All right. The house of the spirit of Ptah, or the temple of the spirit of Ptah, Hutka Ptah. The word Hut is temple, Ka, they translate as spirit, and Ptah would be the deity Ptah. All right. Anyway, so he says the word does not refer to ancient Egyptians. So this one's kind of shaky, because now today he admitted that it could mean Egyptian. So he changed his wording up. He said that it don't only mean Egyptians. But see, nobody ever claimed that. Nobody ever claimed that. So for number 2, this is what I'm going to do, because Chief X's attitude towards this claim is he's implying that he's schooling you all, or even me, and as if he's teaching something. So what I want to do for this one is I'm going to share my 2015 publication, the beginner's Medew Netcher book that I created as a textbook for my classes. I've been teaching the language for over 10 years now. And when I started teaching online, I had to create a textbook so that everyone who's part and participating in the class will be on the same page, and we can work from a common text. All right. So I published it in 2015. And so what I want to do, I want to share it with you all to show you all what I have always said about the word remech. All right. So give me a moment to share this. Share on screen. Now, I'm walking you all through this pretty slow, so forgive me if it seems like I'm taking a long time, but it's necessary, and I think you all have the patience for it. Okay, so here we are. So the beginner's introduction to Medew Netcher. All right, this is the publication I did in 2015. If I scroll down, you will be able to see. I hope it's big enough for you all to see it. 2015, and so I'm gonna fast forward or skip forward. I'm acting like this is a movie. I'm gonna skip forward to the page in question. Let's look at the table of contents though. So the first thing covered in the first chapter is the history of the Egyptian language and writing. So the first thing that I cover is the name on page 8. So I'm gonna click here and we're gonna go right to it. Boom, we're right there. All right. So I'm gonna read this. I want y'all to read this with me. Mind you, this is what I wrote in 2015. I've been teaching this ever since I've been teaching. Nothing has changed. Everything has been consistent. But I want to share this with you all right now. So name. When speaking of the language in general, both the spoken and written forms are usually being referred. However, there are times when one or the other becomes the focus. For the purpose of this book, distinctions will be made when necessary to eliminate ambiguity. For convenience, the languages of ancient Kemet are generally referred to as Egyptian by Egyptologists. What is known today as ancient Egypt was called by a different name by its original inhabitants. One of the names the people of ancient Egypt referred to their own country was Kemet. I have the glyphs right here. I have the transliteration right here. I have the Egyptological spelling right here. And then in double brackets, double arrow brackets, I have the translation. Or I should say a translation, fertile land. So I say the country was called Kemet, and they themselves as, see what I have here? I have the glyphs here. Look at the glyphs. The open mouth, the tethering rope, the kneeling man with the arm extended, the seated woman, the 3 strokes. Remich, I have the transliteration. As I told you, remember I told you 2 systems. This is a diacritic way. You have the T with the underline. When you do publications, you use the standard is to use the diacritic, which I did. And then I have the Egyptological spelling of it, which is Remech. And I'm going to come back to this on a third point. And then the meaning. Look at what I say. It means the people. The Remech means the people. Everybody and their mother who studies ancient Egypt to any, beyond the surface degree knows this. This is common. This is like Egypt 101. The word Remech means people. But I say or Remech ni Kemet. And I spell it all the way out. Remech ni Kemet. Remech ni Kemet. And then I spell it out Egyptologically, which is Remech ni Kemet. And that means the people of the fertile land. All right? People of the fertile land. So at all times, it's understood that the Remech literally means people, but when you're saying Remech ni Kemet, and in the text, whatever text you find the word in, context dictates which people. And for the most part, the word Remech was used for the ancient Egyptians themselves. And so you have to ask the question, what did the ancient Egyptians call themselves? The answer is the Remech. They called themselves the Remech. Now, to reinforce this, to enforce and reinforce, and to enforce and reinforce again and again and again, we know that this word was special to them in terms of their identity because they created a pun, a play on words for their identity. The word Remech is a play on a word that comes from the word remi, a verb that means to cry. In its noun form or substantive form, it's remu, which means tears. Tears are things that come from as a result of crying. And so in their cosmogonical text, which we call a creation story, in the Egyptian creation, one of the Egyptian creation stories, they say that they came from the tears of Ra. The tears is the word Remi. And by them coming from Remi, which are the tears, they refer to themselves as the Remech. Okay, so they played on the similar sounding words to make that connection. So the Egyptians called themselves the Remech, period, point blank. The word literally means people, but it refers to the Egyptians in the in the Book of Gates. It doesn't mean humanity in the Book of Gates, because if it mean or human, or literally people, because if that's the case, then they will put the word Remech next to all 4 groups, because all 4 groups are people. Aren't they all human beings? Aren't Libyans human? Aren't Nubians human? Aren't Asiatic human people? So the backwards logic of Chief X falls to the wayside once again. All right. But I'm going to show you this because the point I'm making here is that Chief X implies, and he does this a lot, he implies that he's teaching something new or something, or he's trying to school somebody. And so I have to show this to show that don't fall for that, because this is something that is so standard and known. It's not even worth making a point about it. But I'm showing this to you all to let you know that publication wise, as far back as 2015, which is 7 years ago, I actually published and showed everybody and explained to people that the Egyptians referred to themselves as the Remech. All right. So just wanted to, and then I explained the name of the language, Rodney Kemet. That's why you hear me say Rodney Kemet. You hear me say Sesh Medew Netcher, the Remech, the whole thing. I don't call them Egyptians. They're Remech. I don't say Egypt. We say Kemet or Tawi, Simatawi, etc. As you can see here. And that's, doubling back. That's why I don't use the word Nubian. Nubian, Egyptians never call those people Nubians. The Nubians didn't call themselves Nubians. That people are trying to talk about. They're the Nehisiu, people of Ta Nehisi. All right, so that's that on that point. So let me stop sharing. I'm not done yet on number 2. But I wanted to show that. So sort of in part, Chief X kind of, like I told you, he got funny on that second claim. He basically backed down a bit on that second claim. He moved the goalpost. So that's why I have a yellow caution for him. But this second claim has also been successfully refuted. The word Remech does refer to the ancient Egyptian, especially in the tomb of Ramses III for the Book of Gates, the tomb of Seti I for the Book of Gates. The Book of Gates, when you see the word Remech used there on that scene, on that wall, is talking about the ancient Egyptians. Everything else is irrelevant. And Chief X wants to make a big deal out of it because he's dodging the fact that those were indeed the ancient Egyptians. So let's move on to point. Well, let me pause here. Let me get some feedback from y'all on here. Are you all still following me? I know there's a delay, but you ought to let me know, because I know the chat tendency. There's a tendency in the chat to have its own life. He said people still need to know who Ujaru. Ujaru. Cedric, you gotta I don't know, I don't know if you're being funny, but if it is, it kind of went over my head. But you gotta explain that. I want to know from y'all still follow me? You there? You follow me? Is it clear? Do I need to clarify anything else? The panel link is pinned to the chat. Oh, he said being funny. All right, so I'm gonna move on. Let's move on to the third thing. So where are we? We are on the third claim, number 3, right here. So Chief X just made up another claim out of thin air. He says that the word Remech should be the word Reth, R-E-T-H. First of all, the claim is so shallow that I'm probably the only person that would even give it any attention. But I'm only doing this for the sake of teaching, and so you all can have clarity on it. But other than that, I wouldn't even pay it any mind, and nobody else really would. And the reason why is because the way that this word is spelled, and I said this a little earlier, the way that this word is spelled, as a matter of fact, let me switch my screen, because we're going to have to get some clarification over here. Let me put this on a screen all by itself. All right. Like I said, you all are going to learn today. Okay. These glyphs, now just for the sake of not being confusing, I'm going to do something. Let me move this over here. What's over here? What I'm going to do is flip it. Don't let this confuse you. I'm doing this so that you won't be confused. On the left-hand side, these are the same words. On the left-hand side, the glyphs are facing to the right, and you would read from the right to the left. Let me get my arrow. You would read from the right and going to the left. This is the direction you would read it in. On the other side, you would read it from the left and go to the right. This way. So no matter how you see it in text, this is the same word. So I'm doing this just as an FYI to show you all that these two are the same words. It just depends on where it's written and the circumstances surrounding it. All right. So, and like I said, I'm not trying to go too deep into that to give a lesson on hieroglyphs tonight, but I'm just showing you. All right. This is the word remech. Now, so let's just break down the glyphs a little bit more detailed. Okay, so we're going to do it like this. So this first glyph represents the consonant R. So I'm put that here, and I am going to make it red, and I'll make it bigger. I have to do this, y'all. Slow it down. So the first glyph represents an R, the consonant R. The next glyph represents the consonant sound TCH. The way we in English pronounce that is ch, like in church, the CH in church. Or chillin', like Netflix and chill. Okay, chill, church. What else? I can't even think of other words with CH, but that's what that glyph represents. The next three glyphs are what's called, let's do it this way. These glyphs over here are referred to as determinatives. And I ran out of room, so I'm going to put it up here. Okay. Determinatives in Egyptian words are not transliterated, and they are not pronounced. That's why these glyphs right here don't have any representation on how it is transliterated. Okay. But in transliteration, what I should do is put a capital T here for the tethering rope. Now, the sound that's assigned to this particular glyph is a ch sound, as in church. That's why we spell it TCH, as you see right here. Okay. The open mouth represents a liquid, the R. R. The R sound. Now, the question that you all are probably asking is, well, where's the M? And I'm going to answer that for you. The M in the word is omitted many, many, many times in Egyptian history by the scribes. And here's the reason why. The M would be represented by an owl. Okay, the owl bird. When it comes to words with birds in it, the scribes were very, very they used their discretion, and the reason is simple. The scribes, the view that they had of the writing system, Sesh, Medew, Netcher. By the way, the word Sesh, Medew, Netcher means the writing of a few issues. Can y'all hear me? You all let me know if you can hear me. Cause I saw that I had there was a connection. Just if somebody could do me a service, a favor, and let me know I could be heard. Mic check 1 2 3. Check check check. Check check check. Oh, that's another ch word. Check. Church check. Chill. MC Kevin chill. MC chill. Netflix and chill. Church. All right, I'm back. Okay, cool. All right, let's do it. Let's keep going. And again, I'm doing this in a slow pace, but I'm trying to be concise. But I don't want to miss anything because I don't like repeating myself unnecessarily, and I've done this already, but I'm doing it slightly a little different tonight. So where was I? Okay, so I was explaining why the M is missing. So let's back up. The scribes in ancient Egypt, they saw the writing system as a very special invention. And so the scribes in the canon and the standards that they set, they have what's called imaginary quadrats. Not quadrants, but quadrats, which are imaginary squares and rectangles. So just to illustrate my point, the scribes saw what they write in either as a square, imaginary square, or rectangles. And they did this to be aesthetically pleasing. They wanted everything to be nice and neat. All right. So as you can see, if I were to fade this square a bit, if I were to place it over here, you see how the word remech fits nice and neatly into a rectangle? See how it's nice and neat right there? That's what the scribes paid attention to. All right? Now, if they were to spell this word with the owl in it, which is a bird, it would throw this off. And so, again, when it came to bird glyphs, or any word that would require a bird glyph, the scribes tended to use their discretion based on how neat the word would look as a result. Okay? So, I'm going to give you another example. There's a phrase called Sa-Ra. And y'all see it all the time in front of kings' names. Sa-Ra. All right. The word Sa is represented by a single glyph, which is a pin-tailed duck. That's a bird. And Ra is represented by a circle with a dot in the middle. Supposed to be symbolic of the sun, a symbol of the sun. When those two words are put together, Sa-Ra, you'll see the circle right above in the back of the bird. Not to the left, to the right of it. The reason why is because it forms a nice, neat square. And I wish I had one handy to show you all real quick. But I don't want to take the time to create it. Maybe I'll come back to it. But put a pin in that. I'm going to show you that. But anyway, so back to my explanation. The reason why the M is not represented in the glyphs part is because the owl is not there. And I just told you all why. All right. But now your follow-up question should be, well, Wujao and other scholars, how do you know if the owl is not there? How do you know that the M was ever there? Well, the answer is very simple. Is because you will find some rare occasions where the word remech is spelled out, but not using the owl. There's a variant glyph that's used for the M sound, which they refer to the glyph as a half blunt. And the half blunt, if put, let me move this back out the way, if put here would still give that neat appearance. That's number one. Number two, the word actually is still survives in the latest iteration of the language called Coptic. The Coptic word for remech is Romi. Let me spell it out for you all. This will be the Coptic word for it. Although it's spelled like the word Rome, but it's actually Romi. Romi. And you see the M there. And Coptic spells out the vowels and everything. The Coptic stage, as scholars say, of the language, it does have the vowels. The vowels are recorded. Okay? So I hope that you all understand that. And as a matter of fact, let me show it to you in, if I can do this quickly. Let's see. Can it be quickly? Can I do it quickly? I just want to show you I want to show you in the Coptic script. All right, let's see if I can do this here. Aha, and we can. So here is the Coptic rendition of Remen Kimi. And you see the R. The Coptic made use of the Greek alphabet, by the way. So any of you all familiar with the Greek alphabet, you all will recognize all of these letters here. What looks like a P is actually an R sound. So you have Rem in Kimi. Renin Kimi. Which is to say Remich ni Kemet in its older form. So the M is here, it's intact. So hopefully I answered you all's questions that I didn't hear anybody ask me, but you all should be asking me those questions, so I'm answering them anyway. I'm covering all the bases with you all right? So that's why the owl is not there. All right? So let's get back to this point. So remember, his point is the word remit should be reth. Now, where is he getting it from? All right, so let me share with you all where Chief X is getting that from. Chief X is getting that from E.A. Wallace Budge and his contemporaries at that particular time. Let me pull up his dictionary if I can. And boy, I have to pull up. Bear with me. Bear with me, bear with me, bear with me. All right. I want to show you the way Budge spells the word. I showed this already, but so like I said, a lot of stuff I'm repeating, but I'm actually slowing the conversation down a bit more because I want you all to really get this. Like I said, I want people to get it, and let's move on. Okay, so let me share this. Here's Budge's dictionary. This is where Chief X gets it. And not only Chief X, but anytime you see somebody spell the word remech, R-E-T-H, this is what they're using. Okay? They're using Budge's dictionary or Budge's rendition. Okay? Now, let me explain a little bit about that. We're taking a little detour again. So, E.A. Wallace Budge was a prolific writer about ancient Egypt. He was the curator of the British Museum for quite some time, and he has done a lot of work and publications in the field of Egyptology and about ancient Egypt. And so in his own writing, he created his own transliteration system. I mentioned two earlier, the manual decodage system and then the diacritic system. Well, E.A. Wallace Budge had his own system outside of the two I mentioned. Now, as of today, well, actually, as of quite a while now, no one uses Budge's system. No scholars uses Budge's transliteration system. So this is why I say that anytime you see people spell the word Remich, R-E-T-H, they're being influenced by E.A. Wallace Budge and his contemporaries. Okay, by contemporaries, I mean people during his tenure, which was the late 1800s and the early 1900s. All right? So, in his dictionary, this is page 436, column A, you'll find the word Remich. Now, what I want you all to pay attention to, regardless of how Budge spells it, look at the glyphs. You see the I don't have my arrow, but hopefully y'all can see my cursor. But you see the open mouth right here. You see the tethering rope right there. You see the kneeling man with his hands extended. You see the seated woman, and then you see the three strokes stacked on top of each other. It's the same glyphs. It's the same word, regardless of the transliteration system of your choice. Do y'all follow that? So the whole thing about Chief X saying in his claim that the Remich was supposed to be Reth, that's old. Do you know when Budge did the dictionary? This is early 1900s, y'all. All of his work has fallen outside of the scope of copyright protection. That's why his works are available freely online. All of his books are not only freely everywhere online, but other companies have even redistributed them, reprinted them. That's how old this stuff is. No one uses this transliteration method in modern times. But see, Chief X wouldn't know that because, again, he's out of his lane and he wouldn't know this. But anyway, I just want to show you. But look at the definition he gives. This is the Remich, but he says Reth, R-E-T-H. He has, instead of duat, he has tuat. And he defines it as men. But then he says i.e., which is the Egyptians. So even the source that Chief X used in his argument that the Remich are not the Egyptians, his source says that they are, but he switched it. He threw a curveball by emphasizing the spelling to try to create a new argument. That's how you know that Chief X and people like him, they don't even know how to have an argument. That's why I will never debate people like that. It's a waste of time. They can't even formulate a coherent, logically flowed argument. Because on one hand, he says that the Remich are not the Egyptians, and then on the other hand, he said that they are, but he don't know that because he's relying on this spelling, and it doesn't say Remech with the M in it. It just says Ref. But is he blind? It's the same glyphs. And look, Budge even explains it further. He says they were formed. Budge tells you what I just said. They were formed from the tears that fell from the eyes of Ra. This word right here is remit or remut, which is the word plural form of the word for tears. The feminine plural form of the word for tears. Okay? Remut. Or some people say remwet. Depends on who you talk to. That means tears. So the remech is a play on the word. The remech, the remwet. Or it comes from the root verb remi, which means to cry. All right? let's look at the word above. Look at these glyphs right here. You see this? Same word, same glyphs. The mouth, tethering rope, kneeling man with a hand extended, seated woman, and 3 strokes. Budge still has rest right there, but look at what he says it means. The 3 classes of mankind. He's talking about the 3 classes. So he's showing you 3 words. Remech, the pot, and then the rekit. So you see this word here. It's not going to let me highlight it. But this word here is remech. That's class number 1. You have the other class here, pot, right here. Then you have this word that folds over to the next line. All together, that's rekit. Rekit. So let me explain to you, because Budge doesn't explain it. Budge just plays 3 classes of mankind. This is the hierarchical order of their society. The remech was the whole population. All right. The pot are the elite. They were considered the elite folks. And then the rekit are your everyday average Joe Blow. Subjects of the king. Okay? That's the 3 classes. That's what that's talking about. And that's it. What else is there to show? Okay, so that's that particular dictionary. And that's where people get that from. Now, so what I want to show is, let me double back on the Sarah. I told you all about the quadrant. Let me pull that back up real quick. I told you all about this quadrant right here, this imaginary rectangle or square that the scribes use as a standard for the beauty of the script, the writing system. Okay? It had to be in a very neat format. That was very, very important to them. Okay? So let me show Sarah. Now, you all should be able to see it on the screen. On the right-hand side is the word Sarah. On the left-hand side, we have 2 renditions of the same word as proof and support for my claim. The top variation and the bottom one is the exact same word. The word is nehi, and it means eternity or forever. The top variation is the whole word spelled out. Notice that there's a bird in it. But look how much white space is in that word. Now, normally the sun disk would be right in the middle vertically. And in the software, we normally have it done, especially, when we're dealing with aesthetics and things like that. But the bird has a lot of white gap behind. So notice that this is how you would see the glyphs in the in text. So notice that there's a lot of white space behind the bird. So scribes didn't like that. So what they did was they more often than not, spelled it the second way that you see right here. So you have 2 twisted flags with the sun disk in the middle, creating a nice square, imaginary square. Same thing with Sarah. You have the pintail duck and the circle not behind it, but right above it over his back to create that square look. Okay? So going back to what I was showing you all, the word remech, that's the main reason why the owl is rarely seen. You're not going to stick a bird in there, especially it being the second consonant in the word, and it look pretty. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to look good. So scribes was like, nope, scratch that. We're going to omit the bird, and we're going to spell it this way. And that's what they did. for the most part of Egypt's existence. There are a rare occasion where you will see it with the another glyph that represents M, which is called the half blunt. All right.
That's great. I just sent another link for you, a Wikipedia link. If you can share that, because I think the point that you're making with Burgess transliteration system just needs to sink in some more. So if you can show that, and then I'll just add a few things that I was doing while you were explaining that, just so some people can understand it proper, so we don't have to do it again.
Okay. I'll share this, and then I'll invite brother Magi on the channel. I believe that is Smash Rockwell, Jonathan Owens, the Magi Archer. But the way that people been acting up, man, people been impersonating and whatnot. so
No, that's me.
Okay, all right, cool. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna invite you on the open your mic up and everything. So let me just share this what Emicat gave real quick. We on a roll here, y'all. And I'm being meticulous like this because listen, I'm not with the foolishness. I'm not gonna sit here and waste my time if I feel like my time is wasted on this stuff. And Chief X is definitely a waste of time, but I don't mind if I can leverage it as a teaching moment. Okay, and this is what I'm doing. Any other time I would ignore him because Chief X, this is not his lane, and he don't really know what he's doing at all because everything I'm showing you all is basic. This is basic stuff for those who study it. Okay, so let me share the screen. Give me 1 second. All right, so what Emicat has provided, is the Wikipedia entry, which is available to everyone on the and their mother, about the transliteration of ancient Egyptian. And in here, Emicat, do you want to direct to a specific point?
Yeah, so if you just scroll down, and this is a good source for people who don't understand the transliteration systems that have been used through time, during the, with the in the field of Egyptology. But just scroll all the way down to where you see the table that has the different transliteration systems right there. So if you can, yeah, that would be good. So here it shows you all the different transliteration systems that have been used through time. You can see from 1889 on the fourth column where you see Burge, 1910. So it will show you all the different glyphs and how those are transliterated. You can also see other glyphs other transliteration systems that we use, like the Monoliterals or using diacritic marks and whatnot. So on Burge, you see, if we just go down to the mouth, we can start with the mouth, or even the owl. The owl is pretty much the same across the board. So the transliteration system is the same. Then if you go to the mouth, then you see some have inclusions of either L or just R, but it's pretty much consistent. And then we're going to move to the tethering rope at the bottom somewhere. Yeah. So here on the fourth column now you see where it's slightly different with Burge. So you'll have, I forget what that sign is, the first one, and then you have the TH. Okay. So just keep that in mind, and then I'll just share my screen again if you can go back to my screen.
Okay, so that's important. I want to underscore this because everyone can pull this up. As a matter of fact, let me put this link into the chat. I'm putting the link in the chat so you all can click on it, bookmark it. This is a table of the major transliteration systems over the years of Egyptology, what's been used. And as you can clearly see, Budge is this fourth column here that I have highlighted in blue. Budge transliterates this this particular glyph, which is a tethering rope, as TH. But look at everybody else. Everybody else. Nobody else does that. And if I go to the top to see who these people are, you have Bruch, 1899, Ehrman, Adolf Ehrman, Budge, you got Ehrman and Grandpa, Gardner, Edel, then the manual decoder system, Hodge, Schinkel, Hannig, and James P. Allen together, Hotch, James Hotch, Schneider, and then the conventional pronunciations on the end. Nobody but Budge transliterates the tethering rope with a TH. And look how far ago this was, 1910, y'all. This is what I mean when I say nobody follows that convention anymore. So Chief X is loud, wrong, and backwards and old. All right, so with that, Emeka, you had something else before I bring Jonathan in?
Yeah, so just real quick though, just to finish that. If you can see the slide that I'm sharing. So here we have the different renditions of the word remech. I think you talked about this sharp half before, that sometimes, as you can see, it looks much more aesthetically pleasing, and that's why sometimes you'd have this here, and then or sometimes, like you see on this part, is completely the M that's more common is completely omitted, because it's better this way than actually having them, the owl here, because once you have the owl, then you have the R with a space left there, so that doesn't look too aesthetically pleasing. So that's why you would see omissions sometimes done, as Ruja was explaining. But so I just put a quick table here, just for later revision for whoever is watching to see, because when you transliterate, like Ruja was saying, you're not going to transliterate the determinative. So what is being transliterated is this phonetic sounds, the R, the M, and the ch sound, and those are these ones here. And so if Bard was to transliterate that with his system, it would be R, and then you can see this is not really included because, as we said, it's always omitted. So he would omit that in the instance that he's actually using. So you have R, and then you have this TH, and then he puts the vowel in there. So so that's where you see something like that, and then you would see this, and then he would include the rep. But for us, when we do that, we just say RM, and then we say uppercase T, not just T, but uppercase T for that sound. And if you're doing it, if you're using the diacritic marks, this is how you would look like R, M, and T. So just remember that the reason why you're seeing the word reth is because Barge is actually using his own transliteration system that nobody actually uses now. But that's why the remech that we are talking about actually is being rendered by him as RETH. But that does not mean that he's talking about something different, because when you're transliterating, you're actually taking from the glyph. So the glyph, the designated signs or the words are actually what you have to keep in mind, that this is the word that is being transliterated as either RMT, or if it's Barge, RETH. And I just sent you another link that Chief X was actually using to actually argue that it's not a word for Egyptians, which actually says clearly, once you understand what I just explained here, if you can show that now, the second link, the Wikipedia link. See, Chief was always dying at his own sources, though, which is very funny and comical. But if you share that now, then you will see why it says Reth is actually Egyptian. And so we have to remember or keep in mind that we're talking about the same thing, the word remech.
All right, so here we are on Chief's own source, another one of his sources that actually self-daggers him. And that's what happens to people who are out of their lane. And that's why I say it's just entertainment. And if people saw it as entertainment, hey, more power to you. Hats off to you. Go have fun. But don't pretend to do scholarship or school people or teach people, or as a consequence of the foolishness, make people think that you're actually teaching and then mislead them. That's where I have a problem. Okay. But this is Chief X's page he pulled up, which is on Wikipedia. No problem with that. But as you can see, it says here categories. The most famous part of the Book of Gates today refers to the different races of humanity known to the Egyptians, dividing them up into 4 categories that are now conventionally labeled Reth, which is how Budge did it, which are the Egyptians, You see how they say the Egyptians for that? Amu, Asiatics, Nahisu are the Nubians, and then the Chimehu are the Libyans. All right? And so if you look at even over here, they have the picture from the tomb of Seti the First. This is the tomb of Seti the First. This one is the larger image from called Lepsius that I showed you all right here at the bottom from the tomb of Seti the First. Also, Lepsius has the tomb of Ramses III, but it's not in just those two tombs. It's in tombs of Merneptah, tombs of Ramses VI. Okay, to name a few, and they're always in that order, and they are designating the four nations representing the four cardinal points or the neighbors of the ancient Egyptians, and doing certain things in the underworld. All right, and it's in the fifth division of the underworld, Book of Gates. All right, so I just want you all to understand that. All right, so there you have it. I think Jonathan bumped out. I was just going to cue him in there, but I think he bumped out. He probably got a connection. There you go. So let me take this off of full screen. All right, Jonathan, you got it. Peace to you.
Peace. How y'all doing?
All right.
I was trying to get in here, but I got a really bad connection, so if it cut me out, don't even trip. But I just wanted to say you did a complete and concise breakdown of the word, and even I know everybody else is learning because I'm learning myself. But I'm really glad you addressed not only what you addressed in the past few days, but addressed this wreath thing, because I was just reading the comments on a video Chief X did, and some pseudo Egyptologist was speaking and discrediting things you said, and saying that wreath was the way that Egyptians said race. So I already knew what was up, but I've been out doing other things and I didn't have time to address it, but it was really like a thorn in my side that I didn't have time to get at that. So I'm glad you guys are handling this right now.
Yeah, man. I felt responsible on my first, addressing it, because he was trying to use me against claims that you made, and he was misrepresenting everything I was saying. That's just wrong. You can't let people do that. So he was trying to say that the picture you put up on your presentation was, first he said it was a Photoshop, it's a fake, and this and that. So so I addressed that, and then he went from there. So he backed down from that. So he admitted that, but now he's trying to say that it's not the Egyptians. And then he made a new issue about the word reth, R-E-T-H. So all that's new, and it's all because he don't want to just admit that he's wrong. He's out of his lane and just go on, packing up moringa bags and selling them.
He got misled. He got misled by the so-called Egyptian Egyptologist, Dr. Bo, whoever. If you was reading the comments, you could go back and find where this reef stuff come from. But I want to ask, did he make a video going in acting like reef was something? Is that a new video or something?
Yeah, today. It was just now. So you just came in, but the reason why I'm live right now is because Chief X went live a little earlier. And when he went live, I went to his chat. I was the first one in there, and I asked him for the link. So he refused to give me the link and have a discussion with me, but he's gonna talk about me and what I was in my statements on his video the whole time. So it's a new video that he just did today. Not too long ago.
I feel sorry for him, because if you want to go do the history on that reef, where the reef thing came from, is the video called Ujahu is a Deceitful Liar. And you could go look right now and see the fake Egyptologists giving comments telling him that reef. First they say, see, I was breaking down the way the Egyptologists came at first, because his statement said the Coptics the Coptics are I don't know, he tried to associate Coptic with it, and then he mentioned Renin Kimi. how Ren and Kimmy is the what cops call themselves, but it was really originally a name for the language, Ren and Kimmy, and it is a twist off R and Kim or Ray D Kim, however you say it. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah,
go ahead.
but so yeah, so that person you're talking about, I doubt if they are Egyptologists, because because he was in the chat today on his live today too, and everything he was saying was just way off, you know. But the confusion is two Coptic words, Reni Kemi and then Rem and Kemi with an M. And so if we're familiar with the Greek script, we can see the difference. Reni Kemi is the language, Remi Kemi is the people. So Rem and Kemi is the people of Kemet, and then Reni Kemi is the language of Kemet from Rani Kemet, like you just said. So it's two different words, but they look alike. And so obviously this person who Chief is getting advice from don't know that. And I can show it right now. So let me, while y'all keep talking, I'm gonna pull up the Greek rendition of it so people can see the difference. I mean, let me pull it up.
Yeah, I mean, I just was complimenting everything y'all broke down. I really didn't have much to add. I just got back into my house, and as soon as I turned on YouTube, I heard somebody say Reef. It was you. You was like Reef, and I was like, damn, I was just about to get on that fake Reef stuff. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't know Chief X made a video about it. And shout out to anybody who making us push the information further anyway. Even the fake, it was some fake Egyptologists on this post. Somebody named Egyptologist 6 or something.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's why I want to show if you were you, because people are making up these YouTube names and faking the funk, you know. So that's and that's sad. Like I'm all for having fun. Like we can't be all tight and stiff. So I like having fun, but not at the expense of the education, man. It's let's get the education laid out, then let's have fun. I don't like people to pretend as if they trying to teach something and they all loud and wrong. So hold on, I gotta get the Greek. I'm gonna show the Greek script just to show. Let's see. All right, here we go. So matter of fact, I'll just share my screen. I'll show the whole Wikipedia article. How about that? Let's do that. All right, so here we go. So switch this over. And y'all, everybody will be able to see it. All big one happy family. We're sharing this together. We all learning together. All right, so in Egyptian language, which one am I at? This one? All right. Okay, so y'all see it on screen. So this is Wikipedia, y'all. Just go to Wikipedia and type in Egyptian language in the Wikipedia search bar. You're going to come to the same screen. So bookmark it, do further research. So let's just read it together. It says, the Egyptian language or ancient Egyptian, and they have the glyphs here spelled all sideways because, on Wikipedia they can't do it properly. But it's Ra, they got the open mouth, the water ripple, what people are calling either a charcoal or a crocodile tail. I'm going to get into that right now. The owl, raised bread loaf, and then the intersection glyph that we call a newt or a city determinative, a village or city. And they transliterate it as RNKM and then .t, Rani Kemet. Now, they show the Coptic here. And as you can see, the Coptic is written in this way. And they have it over here to the right as well. And let's see, where else do they have it? I'm trying to look down. Do they have it anywhere else? Not really. The history, they show the Coptic, Old Egyptian. Let me see if they have it at the bottom where Coptic is. Dialects, Coptic, blah, blah, blah. Nope. I wanted to show that. So that's how the Greek looks for the language. And so where the confusion is that Rim. Okay, let's break it down. So, and I don't know if it's gonna allow me. Okay, yeah. Was it big over here? Okay, right here. So let me make it big. Y'all should be able to see it. So this right here, REM. This is the Greek letters. The Greek letter that looks like a letter P as in Paul is really an R. Represents the consonant R sound. Okay. So the Rem part of it represents people. That is the Coptic version of the word remech. Okay. Then you have the genitive, which is in Coptic in, which means of or possession, the genitive. Then you have Kemi. Kemi is the Coptic way of saying Kemet, the place. So this by itself, Rem and Kemi, means the people of Kemet. But what's in front of it, you got the article, and then you have Met. Met is same as the word Medew, the words of the people of Kemet. That's what this title is. It says the words of the people of Kemet. That's why they say that means Egyptian language in Coptic. The words of the people of Kemet. That's how they break it down.
Can I ask something real quick?
Yeah.
Because really it's Tiaspi, Ren and Kimi. And they're leaving off the Tiaspi. But if you Google Tiaspi in front of Ren and Kimi, it'll fill out exactly what you're saying. The words of it'll say it out phonetically, the words of the people of Kemet. But go ahead.
Okay, now you have it. Because I'm slowing it down. So what? Let's just show it. Like you said, if I Google.
So just Google.
Let's bring it up.
Google TI and then put a space and put ASPI. Tiaspi and then put Ren and Kimi. Or it should if you just put Tiaspi, it should pop up because there's no other reason why that should be in Google. It's going to talk about the language of the Coptics.
Yeah, that is definitely did not come up with. Oh, maybe I spelled something wrong. Hold up, T-I-S-P.
I might be saying it wrong. T-I space A-S-P-I. This is just off memory, and then put Ren and Kimi just like we was doing. And if it doesn't come up, then I'll forget what I'm adding.
Okay, no, because I wanna, it's. I don't know if you on your phone. I don't know if you can get to it because this is something that I want to show. Then
Yeah. Last try before I get to my computer. Try the same thing and just put Coptic instead of Ren and Kimi.
Okay, hold up. I think we have it right here. Emicat found it.
Thank you, Emicat.
Yeah, I want to show this on the screen here.
So see what they say that means out all the way.
Okay. Wait a minute. Where'd you find it? Okay, yeah, she gonna pull it up, and I'll share her. She'll share her screen. So in the meantime, though, I hope everybody is following along and enjoying this slowed down version of the conversation. This is how a conversation should be. Now, obviously, it takes time and it may seem a little boring, but sometimes we got to do boring things to make advancements. We can always have fun. We could walk and chew gum at the same time. All right, so here's Emicat sharing it. So Emicat, you got your mic is open.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, that's actually the first site where I found the word. So I think it's right here, the TSP, but I don't see the glyphs. It shows it in Coptic anyway. So that is it, and then you have the TSP, like Smash said, and then the transliteration. So I don't know if that's the correct one.
Thanks for sharing that. Does it have a translation for what TSP Ren and Kimi means?
It says the Egyptian language.
Yeah, and so how you would say, so if we go back to the ancient Egyptian, we got Reni Kemet or Rent. We just got people of Kemet or mouth of Kemet, however you want to translate it.
Yep.
But
yeah. So So that's what I'm saying. They in Coptic they have the article in front, and then the word for words, Medew, and then you have people, and then of Kemet, and so they use that to talk about the language. But in the older version, they just say Rodney Kemet, which is the mouth of Kemet. Rodney Kemet. And so that's the difference. And so, but every scholar knows that, though. That's the thing. That's why I highly doubt that the person that Chief X had in his chat is a scholar. I think that's just a screen name, Dr. Danube or whatever the name was. Because nothing else. I mean, I saw the chat. Even today, nothing that they were saying was actually factual at all. And plus the way they act, it's no way they were acting real immature, just like Chief X was. So now, but let me see if I can take that off now. Yeah, up. Okay, so let me get back to this one. Where to go? Okay, so yeah, so as you can see, this is how they render it. And so look at the three different variations. Look over here on the right. So they have the glyphs at the top. That's the mouth, which is the word Ra. Not Ra as in the sun god Ra, but Ra as in mouth. That's the word for mouth. And as the logographic stroke, which is talking about the word Ra for mouth. Ni, water up was the word ni, is a genitive, which means of or belonging to. And then the toponym or place name, Kemet, the mouth of Kemet. Now that's not literal, because we know places don't talk, but it's a figurative way of saying language. Just like the word in many different people's languages, like Emiket is from Kenya and speaks as from the Luo ethnic group or tribe, and they speak their language is called the Luo. And Emiket, I don't know if you want to break that down real quick just to let people know how that works.
Yeah, definitely. So the people are the Luo people, and then how we call our language is the Luo, and which comes from the word do or dok, which is the mouth, and then Luo, the people. So this is the language of the Luo people. So it says the mouth, or you can actually say the mouth of the Luo people.
So there you go. There y'all have it. So y'all hearing it firsthand from a person born and raised, homegrown African. That's what people say. But Kenya, see, because people in Africa don't say that broad term Africa. They name where they from. Like, I'm Kenyan. What you talking about? Yeah, I'm African. Yeah, but nah, I'm Kenyan, or I'm Luo. So yeah, duck. Am I saying it right? Duck is shortened to do Luo, the Luo, the language of Luo. The mouth of Luo, literally. So the ancient Egyptians did the same thing. The mouth of Kemet. Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I wanted to interject back. If we went back to the Wikipedia on Coptic language and went all the way down to the last paragraph on name, in the last sentence it'll read, in the liturgy of the Coptic Orthodox Church, the name is more officially T-Aspi Renin Kimi, the Egyptian language, Aspi being the Egyptian word for language. So I know they're not saying Kemetic, we could go in on there, but they're probably saying the Coptic word for language. So that's kind of like what their addition to, it even proves even more that they were talking about the language, because it says T-Aspi, which means language. So the guy is just super, he don't know what he was talking about, but it's
super pseudo. So I got on the screen what you just said. It has, I highlighted the paragraph. Another name by which the language has been called, which is Temen Koption, from Copto-Greek, etc., etc. The term logos and Egyptos in Greek, that's how they say the Egyptian language, logos and Egyptos, which means the word or words, plural, of Egypt. Everybody knows logos mean word, because in the beginning was the word, words with God, y'all know that. Is also attested in Sahidic, but logos and Egyptos are both Greek in origin. In the liturgy of the Coptic Orthodox Church, the name is more officially and that's where Smash what you were saying. Tiaspi, Enrem, Emrem Kimi, the Egyptian language. Aspi being the Egyptian word for language. So there you go. Hands down. So, matter of fact, I got to go back to my my screen because I forgot to check it off. Because I was checking off each of Chief X's claims one by one. So I got to check this one off. I want everybody to see it. I'm not leaving any stone unturned. So that will make the third claim that Chief X null and void. So now we have covered all three of his claims in a very slow fashion. Hopefully everybody got it. And if Chief X still popping off at the gums, at the mouth, at his Roni Chief X, which is the words of the language of Chief X, it just needs to be tossed to the wayside. Period. So hopefully I've demonstrated that, and I've demonstrated convincingly to where this don't come up ever again. At least not from him. Now, of course, he's going to make video after video again. I already know that. That's the, Sanjetti, appreciate Sanjetti coming through earlier. He read the definition of a narcissist from the Bible. What was it? The Bible, psychological Bible. And that fits the behavior of Chief X. So I believe, Chief X from brother to brother, you may want to seek out some help. All right. And I say that with love because a lot of times with certain behavioral issues, we don't really recognize it. And it takes an outside person or outside observation to really kind of pull your coattail on things like that. Sometimes we don't notice things ourselves, and we should welcome it if people care about each other. So anyway, I guess that's it. So the link is still in the chat. I'll stick around for a little bit. If anybody want to come in here, if anybody can drag Chief X himself and bring him on over here, that's all fine with me. All right. Chief X knows that I was doing this live, and he ended his earlier but never came over. That's straight coward because he denied giving me the link, talking about me in his live and everything while I'm in the chat, and refused to give me the link. So the word for that, only word I could find for that is being scary or a coward. Not only a coward, but it's a disservice because if he really was interested in teaching his audience, why not bring me on the panel so he and I could talk and have a discussion? I could show him all these things. So anyway.
Yeah, I think it was actually very foul that it not only didn't want you on the panel while discussing that, or even after discussing that, but it also went as far as not just blocking you from commenting, but actually deleting the comments because he noticed that the comments were actually you making corrections of the things that he was trying to teach at that point. So that actually just shows you that the person's intent are just they just have ill intent, because if somebody's correcting you, at the very least you might want to leave it and come back and check on it later, and if something that you don't agree with, you can speak on it why you don't agree with the correction. If it's not correct, or if it's true, then you adjust yourself correctly. But he literally just was deleting the comments because he noticed that you were actually making corrections of what he was saying. And I guess, and I think my guess would be right, that he does not want people to see that that he's wrong, basically.
One last thing I want to say real quick, this is like extra bonus stuff now, is another thing he said today too. He said that which is a real small thing. He said that he said that no real scholar would do what you see on the screen right here. But because he doesn't know where this picture came from, he doesn't understand that when he said it, he straight up contradicted and daggered himself. It's like cutting off his legs and then trying to run a marathon. He pulled up Carl Lepsius' wiki page and showed that Carl Lepsius and used Carl Lepsius as a source for the word reth, Reth, and big up Carl Lepsius. But then he turned around and said that no real scholar would do something like this. Like, who would do something like this? Like, who would do this, and the third, showing this picture on the screen. But he didn't know where it came from because he said, man, I don't know who would do whatever, whatever, whatever. And I'm paraphrasing. But what he doesn't know is that this is a page out of Lepsius' book. it's, it's like real crazy to me. So I'm just showing you all the same picture. And this is out of Lepsius' book. This is where everybody gets these four figures from the Tomb of Ramses the Third. This is Lepsius' book, and I'm gonna show you another picture from Lepsius' book. This is the same. This is from the same book, but this is the same book. Let me shrink it back down because I had to blow it up so y'all can see it. But let me shrink it back down. This is a page out of Lepsius' book as well. The same book. I have the book, and listen, if any of y'all want this material, just let me know. I'll give it. I'll email it to you, or whatever. This is from the same book. This is the same text, the Book of Gates, except this image is from this Tomb of Seti the First. These images, the bottom one is from Ramses the Third, and then this one is from Merneptah. So he's showing the four groups of people from each of the tombs. And notice that they're always in the same order. It's always the Egyptians first. It's always the Amu second, or the Asiatics. It's always the Nehisu or Nubians third. It's always the Chemehu or the Libyans last. Look in Merneptah's tomb. Egyptians, Asiatics, Nubians, and then it must be damaged here, but that would be the Libyans. It's always the same order. Even in the tomb right here, Seti the First. Egyptians are first, Amu are second, Asiatics, the Nehisi or Nubians third, and the Chemehu or Libyans are last. Why? Because the text is the same thing. You can see their names in the text. And I'll probably go live. It's late now, but I didn't know I was going to be this long. But what I wanted to do was to read and translate this text here, just so people can know what the story is saying right here. So we can kill that noise as well. All right, because people say, oh, it's the four races of mankind and this and that. No, if you read the text, you'll see why these figures are even showing up in the first place. And so, I may come back and do that. But anything I'm trying to anything from the chat. I know we got some Russian bots. We got some bots up in the chat though. What's up with that? Anybody know about that?
No, they took over everything, dude. It's Russian bots on everything you post now.
Man, Google got to step up, man. They got to do something. Russia done invaded countries now and threatening. Man, it seems like it's getting a little serious because they alerted their nuclear stuff, man. That's not. Can't be sleeping on that. Just because it's seems like it's on the other side of the ocean. Nah, man. But All right, but hopefully.
Oh, I was saying that since you brought up the facsimile from Lepsius, notice that before Chief was talking about that it's a Photoshop, but now he's adjusted himself. After you kind of like explain that it's not a Photoshop, that's a drawing from Lepsius. But today he actually did a similar thing where he was when you brought the Waterbush dictionary, and I mean, how are you going to be arguing with people about words, and you are actually there looking at a Waterbush dictionary? Is everybody knows, everybody who studies, studies Egyptian, the ancient Egyptian language and whatnot, understands and knows that the Waterbush dictionary is usually handwritten. You have the online version, but it's a handwritten, and that's how the German Egyptologist did that back then. But he was like, what the hell is that? When you were showing the dictionary, he was like, what the hell is that? Who handwrites stuff? And things like that. So these are just things that show you that he's just it's just a funny character. He does not know like what he's talking about, whatever's going on in this particular field of study. He's just there to ruffle feathers at the end of the day, because how the hell you don't know about about the dictionary while you're arguing about words in the dictionary, in words of like Sesh Netcher words in dictionaries. So that was crazy.
So let me add to that, because I'm gonna show y'all what she's talking about. Okay, so what I'm sharing on the screen right now is Raymond Faulkner's concise dictionary of Middle Egyptian. Every college student that studies Egyptology or the Egyptian language is recommended this book as a dictionary. Everybody who deals with Egyptology knows that the dictionaries were handwritten. The German Wörterbuch dictionary, which is our biggest dictionary, and this one and others are handwritten. Chief X made a comment today showing a screenshot of me showing this and saying, I don't know who would handwrite. He's like, look at that silliness. Who would handwrite something like this, blah, blah. That just tells you that he is so far out of his league. So far out of his league. This is the kind of work it takes to study this stuff. He's mad because it's handwritten.
Oh yeah, it was the Faulkner. Yeah, but he called it piece of crap.
Yeah, he said piece of crap. Like, who talks like that? And by the way, man, this is crazy. I just scrolled down and it came straight to the word remech that I had before. This is the word remech right here. Look, you see the mouth, tethering rope, the kneeling man with the hand extended. You see RMT. He defines it as man, and he gives a source where you can find it. In Armana 5, he tells you the plural form of it means men and mankind. You can find that in Urk 4, fourth volume of Urk, which is a German series of journals. And he says with the determinatives of the kneeling man and the woman, see that right there? Then he goes on and tells you that it also means Egyptians. It's big as day right there. So Chief X actually showed this on the screen, and he just understand that how he daggered himself. And by the way, this shows the variation with the M. Let me blow it up. Oops. You see, remech. R for the mouth, the owl, tethering rope, remech, and the three these are circle dots, but they represent the plurality, remech. Then you have another variation, the open mouth, the half blunt, as I mentioned before, and the tethering rope. The kneeling man, arm extended, seated woman, remech. That's for those who would ask me, well, where does the M come from? How do you know, Wujao? So I already answered that earlier, and here's further confirmation. All right, this is Raymond Faulkner's dictionary. Look up Raymond Faulkner. Just go to University of Brown's University. Look at their syllabus to get a degree in Egyptology. Look at the books that they require the students to get. You're gonna see Raymond Faulkner dictionary of concise dictionary of Middle Egyptian. So anyway, so that's that. All right, I think we've had enough. And let me see if I can see the chat. So, all right, I'm paying attention to the chat now. So, if anybody got any last minute questions or comments, I'm gonna check it out, y'all. Let me turn this chat on, so y'all can see the chat on the side. So, peace out to everybody. Shout out to everybody. I mean, and I apologize. When I'm sharing, I don't pay attention to the chat. One, because I have too many windows open, and then two, I don't want to fight being distracted. It's not good because sometimes the chat will have a life of its own. People be arguing in the chat on something else, and then you see it, and then it'll catch your eye and it'll throw you off. So I don't really monitor the chat while I'm sharing. So that's just me. But yeah, if anybody got any comments right now, go ahead. I see Aaron. And then he said bot farms. Okay, that's those things. Man, Google needs to do something about that. They definitely have out of hand. 42 Tribe, he says this is pretty educational for the short bus series. Yeah. Yeah, there should be no doubt after this. But like I said, so let me say this to you all who are watching me now. Don't expect me to go video for video with Chief X. I definitely expect him to create maybe 10 more videos. I'm not going to respond to them. I don't care what he says in them on this subject. So I'm letting you all know that now. Don't look for me to respond to anything that he says, because he could have come here. I was over there with him. He refused and denied me. And this is a funny thing. He says I'm fearful of him. I'm full of fear. But I'm there asking him for the link. And everybody in the chat was like, give him the link. Wajao's here now. Give him the link. Give him the link. And he refused. He actually said out of his mouth, he says, nope, I'm not going to give Wajao the link. And guess why? He said, I'm not prepared. He said, I'm not equipped or prepared to have a discussion about the language and stuff like that. I'm not, he was like backing down. But yet he's going to keep saying what he's saying. But, all right.
Yeah, and just to note, we definitely don't block people on this channel like that, and unless you're a bot, period. But everybody else, the only thing we don't allow is cuss words and whatnot. But you could definitely, nobody's having a hard time not typing in here, regardless of what their views are. And we also always put the panel link at the beginning of the show. Is always pinned up there, so there's no way Chief X can say that we don't allow him to interact on this channel, and also even come and speak his mind, because our panel link is always pinned about right from the start.
Okay, I see a question. Mike Speed, that's a good question. He says, so to be clear, the owl was taken out so the word would look nicer. He's asking that question. Then he says, is there a book or text to confirm the aesthetics of words? And the answer is yes to both questions. And so, let me elaborate. So yes, the owl. So just know this, put this in your head. Any word that had a bird glyph in it, the scribes looked at that with discretion. So the birds were the most difficult thing to contend with for the scribes, because bird glyphs created a lot of white space in front of it, behind it, and so on and so forth. And so what the scribes did was they grouped the glyphs into 3 categories based on their shapes. One is tall and narrow glyphs. They're hardly ever stacked on top of each other. Those are tall and narrow glyphs. As a matter of fact, I think I need to show you all what I'm talking about. So I'm sure I have something that has an example of them. Let me just see if I have anything. Any one thing. Yeah. All right. So let me show this. Let me show this on the screen. So I have this on the screen. Make this big. I gotta take the chat away, y'all. Real quick. Show you all these things. Okay. So let me just illustrate what I'm talking about. Okay. So in the hieroglyphic inventory, the Sesh inventory, you have tall and narrow glyphs. So this throw stick is considered a tall, narrow glyph. The twisted flax is considered a tall and narrow glyph. The folded cloth, again, tall and narrow glyph. These glyphs are within words are never or hardly ever. I'm not gonna say never, because there are rare occasions where they are, but they're 98%. You'll never see 98% of the time. You will always see them standing alone, with nothing on top of it. Then you have the bird glyphs. So when it comes to bird glyphs, the bird glyphs always created this vacant white area, white spot. They call it white space, where you have a gap in the back of it and a gap in the front of it. So for words that had small glyphs, so the three categories according to their sizes are tall and narrow. Then you have low and broad glyphs, which is example would be the mouth. That's low and broad. Or the tethering rope, low and broad. So 2 low and broad glyphs are always stacked on top of each other, which is why you see it here. The bird glyph is treated like a tall and narrow glyph. And because it's treated that way, it creates these white spaces. You see? And so what the scribes tended to do was to fill that white space or omit the bird altogether. Okay? And that's a general rule. And so now to your second part of your question, are there books that explain this? Yes. So let me share one such book with you right now. Give me a second here. Give me 1 second. If I could find it. Oh. All right. So I don't like that dead silence. So while I'm trying to share it, 'cause I want to help the brother out for asking the question.
While you're doing
Go
that,
ahead.
just quickly to Dasharab on the chat, were you able to understand why the certain glyphs are being omitted or were omitted by the scribes of ancient Egypt at the time? Are you able to understand why in some words some glyphs are omitted? If yes, just let us know in the chat, because I know you are having a hard time, trying to understand why some glyphs are omitted, and then in return, they're also omitted sometimes in the dictionaries.
Okay, so if I can get this shared, goodness gracious, why am I having a hard time here? Ah, there we go. I gotta unshare the other one. Boy, must be getting late, y'all. All right, so here we are. So what I'm sharing with you all right now in a hot second pops up. There we go. This is James P. Allen, Middle Egyptian Grammar. And so this is from page 5. All right. James P. Allen, Emicat, I'm not sure if you could type that in the chat for the brother. This is James P. Allen's Middle Egyptian Grammar, page 5. And in this section, he talks about the groupings of the glyphs. And so I'm not going to read it all, but just the relevant information. Says the words of hieroglyphic text follow one after the other. In the scene reproduced above, for example, 3 rows on the right contain in order the words statue of, row 1. Well, I'm going to skip that because he's talking about this image here. Okay. But I'm getting to the point of what you're asking me. This kind of organization is a fundamental principle of all hieroglyphic writing. The arrangement of the group depends on the shape of the individual signs. In general, every hieroglyph has one of 3 basic shapes. Remember I said tall and narrow, but he says tall signs, for example, the quail chick and the twisted flax. Flat signs, which is the harpoon and the water ripple, or small signs, the raised bread loaf or the logographic stroke. Those are the 3 categories. And here's what you're looking for. Tall signs tend to stand by themselves, but other signs are usually arranged into a square or rectangular groups. Okay? And so in the name Henenet the Black, for instance, the first two, and he's talking about up here where it says Henenet the Black. All right? And I'm gonna do a whole show on that. I just reminded myself of that. For instance, the first 2 tall signs stand alone, the one after the other. So you got the twisted flax, and you have the several leaves for the word flower. And then the next 2, which are flat, are arranged in a square. So you got the 2 water ripples above each other. The tall sign following stands alone again. So you got the reed leaf right here. The reed leaf stands alone. And the last 2 signs are grouped in a rectangle with one above the other. You see that? And then he goes on to say, sometimes a tall sign can be made smaller and grouped with the flat one, as you see here. Now this is rare, just to show y'all, just to give y'all FYI, when a bird in that is like that. Okay, so that's rare. But that's the explanation. So the reason why they took out the owl in the word remech is because it produces an ugly appearance. And so because the word was so important to the ancient Egyptians through their creation story, where they say they came from the tears of Ra through the word remi and remit, which is tear to cry, and the word for tears, it was very important. And they usually made it aesthetically pleasing. All right, so hopefully that's sufficient answer for you. And there's other books. This is one, that I had shared last night as well. That I knew where I can quickly find it. Okay, so hopefully that helps you out. Let's see, anything else? Was there anything else? Let's see. That was okay, Desharab. He said Chief X been vindicated. Definitely don't understand that. Yeah, Desharab, if you have any disagreements, click the link. Yeah, click the link. That's how we get down over here.
Yeah, he didn't get it. He was saying basically if both say the same thing over the word ret and rematch, then Chief X been vindicated. But he doesn't understand that Chief X wasn't trying to say that they're the same either way. The point was he was trying to make that a whole different word. It's not the match, but obviously because he doesn't know. So there's no way you can be vindicated by saying that something is not what it is, at the end of the day. And there's no excuse, that he was misinformed, because if you have to rely on somebody else's knowledge, to go and argue about something, about that particular thing, then you from the jump you're in the wrong field. Like, you only argue about things that you know. If you do not know, then whoever was telling him that's what he should have brought forth to actually argue those points. So it's you can't be a puppet and then say that you're doing something.
Yeah, Desharab. Based on your comment, I don't think you understood the points even Chief X made, which is why I summarized his points earlier. Chief X was all over the place, and that point right there was a move the goalpost point anyway. But this is to answer the brother Bedrock Carter. He said, "What is the third glyph? I don't see a woman." Bedrock, could you clarify? If you're talking about what I have on the screen right here, could you clarify for me? Because, and I know there's a delay. So, if you are talking about this 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth glyph is a seated woman. Okay, so I blew it up for you so you can see what that is. So hopefully that helps you out. Let's see, anybody else? Oh, we got Love Face. I hope somebody took care of that. Yeah, so Bedrock, if you're still there, let me know. And if so, then hopefully that answers your question. Anything else from anybody? Going once, going twice. I'm definitely about to shut it down. So hopefully this puts these arguments to bed. Can somebody take care of man? Let me go over here. I don't know what's going on with these bots, boy. All right. Anything else from anybody? What did Chief X do with my boy Desharab? He's a real student, no? No, Desharab, I'm not sure. Yeah, Desharab, so hopefully that clears up what you were saying. Okay, New University TV, it says, you all block me from commenting on the panel. No, I am not a bot. I don't know that to be true, New University. Let me listen, y'all. I have never blocked anybody from the channel. Let me make that very clear. I have never blocked anybody from the channel. There are channel chat mods that may have in the past or something like that, but I have never blocked anybody from the channel. And right now, all YouTube channels have been hit with these bots. So, and they usually have a dot in your name. So New University, I don't know you to be blocked. I know I didn't block anybody. I haven't blocked anybody on this channel. Ever.
Nah, you can't even actually block people, even though I say that bots are blocked. You can't really block them. You can just, hide them. But I think it's because your name, because I remember New University, you've been, commenting and also been on the panel before. So I think if it's an issue, it's probably the algorithm, YouTube algorithm, looking at your name, because that's how the bots' names do look like. So you might want to change that.
Yeah. See, like whoever love face, why are they still posting? Can somebody block them, please?
I think it's coming from different accounts with the same thing.
All right. So Deshareb asked this question. Let me put this question on here. I take this off of full screen. He says, if the M is only omitted in the glyphs for space reasons, then why also omit it in the transliteration? We don't omit it in the transliteration, Desharab. We don't omit it. Look even on my screen when I had it up earlier. Let me put it up here. Where do you see me omit the M in the transliteration? We don't omit it. And so you further go on to say that the Remich would have included in their own transliteration. Number one, Deshareb, let me make it clear. The Remich did not transliterate anything. They had no need to, because they're writing in their language as it is. All right? So hopefully that's clear on that. We don't omit it in the transliterations. Now maybe you meant to say if the M is only omitted in the glyphs for space reasons, then why don't you omit it in the transliteration? But even that question would not quite make sense. So we don't omit the M in the transliteration. Now, what you may see some scholars do is they may do this. Some scholars will indicate that the M in the glyphs is omitted by putting it in parentheses like that. Oops. Like this. You may see it like this. It depends on which scholarly work you're reading and what it's for. So some scholars will put the M in parentheses to indicate that the M is not represented in the glyphs either. All right, so hopefully that's clear to everyone. And then now the new question is from Deshareb is, Reth is a transliteration, ain't it? No. Reth, RTH, is nowhere to be found. Budge, in developing his own system, he writes it as RETH. Budge includes the arbitrary vowel of an E in between his words. Let me pull up Budge's dictionary again. I see I have to make this crystal clear. Very crystal clear. I see we have another. Let me welcome screen name James, Pan-African Designs. Peace. The mic is yours. I'm gonna come back to this question, but you can go ahead and if you had a question or comment, Go for it.
No, I think this is kind of hilarious, but then again, it's a dangerous situation with this brother. Um, a lot of us that's been in the community for a while, we have history with the brother. Um, so it's kind of confusing for somebody to um, proclaim that they're historically aware and then they just jump off the bridge like that. That's what I think is most shocking to a lot of us. You know what I'm saying? Because we, for some reason, we had a, a thought that the brother had some kind of historical awareness. You know what I'm saying? If you go back
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
8 years ago, a lot of people, um, unfortunately for us, we have to give them time to show who they really are or what they really know. Now, if you come from the school of a Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, it's no way that you could have these type of views 8 years later if you were really studying or fact checking what they were saying. And then because what we're supposed to be is branches off of a tree, the right tree that's growing. So I attribute brothers like you as continuing on what their works were, because we have more information now. It's just dangerous that um, I think he's using the people that are miseducated and the people that have become enemies of this information, like the people that have demonized the Hotep terminologies and so forth. um, he's using that energy because of a lot of the negative stuff that we have from the people who come before. Us are often the same information bracket as we are, as far as like the Umar Johnson, the debacle that he's caused, or even the young pharaohs, and we can go on and on. But all of that damages what we're trying to get done. You know what I'm saying? Because if you
Yep.
look on um, these other platforms, you see a disdain for consciousness, or what they even the Europeans have latched on with the woke culture. Because the only thing that
Mm-hmm.
woke meant for us was to become aware of disinformation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they've demonized it, and it's a hell of an attack if you just look at. But I just wanted to chime in because we got a history with this guy that goes back 8 years that I don't think we're really touching on. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would someone um switch from that information and start, demonizing the information in the way that he has? Because this is really not a game. You're on a public platform, and you're almost intentionally, if we didn't know any better, miseducating people, like for fun. So I don't know if it's monetization money that's doing this, but it's something that we really need to really just look at, because we really have a bigger issue if that's going to be the case. But I'll close right there.
No, I appreciate the comment, and that's true. I share those that same sentiment, and that's my frustration, and when I feel compelled to step in, because I'm all for having fun, right, and being entertained, but never at the expense of the minds of our people. That's just a no-no in my book where I come from. I'm just built differently, in terms of that like can have fun and jokey joke. That's cool, but it needs to be clear. Like when you buy a ticket to go to a comedy show, you going to be entertained and you going to comedy, but you're not gonna go and spend money to a lecture only to be entertained, uh, under the name of it being a lecture, as if I'm gonna walk out thinking I know something, I learned something. No. So that's the problem I have with these platforms and people like Chief X. But he admittedly says he does things to be messy and whatnot. So I don't, I'm only using him to leverage the teaching moment out of it. I don't take him serious at all. I lost respect. I used to respect the brother. I met him. He seemed cool, but I don't know what happened. You know what I'm saying? That was a while back. I met him. I got a picture with him, me, him, and Professor Small. And so like you said 8 years ago, Chief X was like a different. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, but how do
Something.
you see? That's the confusing part for people like us. How do you know, revert back to ignorance? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? This is like It's like he don't understand. This is how I look
Too many
at
cigars,
it.
man.
Like, how do you revert? Like, once you become awake, like, because all chronology, like, you're trying to take the chronology out of learning, and you can't do that if you're trying to. Because I come from the South, and in the South, we only had one thing. We didn't have a lot of this confusion with the Hebrews. It seemed like when Sinetta, and I'm not really blaming, yeah, but when you start putting these type of people on these platforms, that let that information grow, whether you're trying to kill it or see, they don't understand that these people are really our enemy now. You know what I'm saying? Like right now,
Yeah.
the people that have this ideology is our enemy. You should not keep feeding that particular information because some people are going to go with that. Crazy as that sounds, you're giving that information life. And I look, because see now in Texas, we have Hebrew Israelites. And we never had, see what I'm saying? So where did it come from?
Listen, these platforms are like manufacturing incubators. They're giving birth to these things. Like these platforms are having sex and giving birth to these kind of attitudes and behavior in people. I don't know what happened to Chief X. Like I said, you know, I applaud Chief X entrepreneurship. You know, he seems to go into the business of CBD and cannabis and hemp. And I know he has a moringa thing going on at one point or whatever. But on the scholarly stuff, it's a wrap. I have no respect. And I tell him, I said this many times before, 0. I don't take him serious.
Now, what happened?
But let me
what happened? So, okay, now let's go back through it. He wanted to be a part of what you guys had going on, you know, because once upon a time, being in the scholarly arena, but he never was allowed in. So do you think that this is him lashing out?
Maybe.
See what I'm saying?
Hey,
I don't want it to sound like a child because he's a grown man, but this is what the behavior that we're seeing. Like, what would give you the ammunition or the motive to go against the truth? For what?
Yeah, that's
if you knew it.
That may be part of it, because look at the names that keep coming out of his mouth. You know, the squad or members of the squad: Asar, Jonathan,
Dr. Ben,
every Diop. Now, you know, Diop. He labels Diop as the what do you call it? The father of Afrocentricity or something he said today, and everything. And that's just straight. Like he would never. He can't even come close to even the shadow, let alone the shoes, of a person like Diop.
This is what I want everybody to understand. What, you know, I know you guys are great in your own right? But what he's asking us to do is to go against the ancestors that have gotten this far to the pretty much the apex of understanding our historical from a written perspective, because you can't go back and argue verbal, right? See, that's what they want to do too, but you can't do that. Only thing that we're arguing is all written languages. Think about it.
Yeah.
That's as simplistic as you can put it. Everybody has a doctrine and it has a date. Only thing we're trying to do is find out what was the oldest date. It's as simple as that.
Well, let me answer this question, and then because I'm gonna wrap it up, because I've been on here too long.
Right on.
So
I'm gonna go ahead and hang up and just listen.
Okay, I appreciate you stopping through.
All right, peace.
All right, peace. So this is to go back to Desharab, right? And I want to demonstrate something else. So Desharab was talking about was RTH the transliteration or whatever. So this is Budge's dictionary, and so the reason I pull this back up is because Budge had his unique way of spelling out these words, and they weren't transliterations per se. He was spelling it out the way that he suggested it to be pronounced. All right, so I want to show you. Let me get my cursor back over there. So look at how he spelled. We already went over this word ref, as that we transliterate and spell out and even pronounce conventionally as remech. Okay, and I showed you, Emicat brought up the table. Y'all can look into it, of the comparison of how Budge translated versus all the other scholars. Budge is alone in this. Okay, but here's the thing: when I say he's alone in it, during his time, there were a couple of his contemporaries who adopted his thing. So you'll see Lepsius may use the word reth, etc. But nobody does that in modern times. All right. So just to give another example, let's look at Syria. The Egyptian word for Syria, okay, the country of Syria, is what we call and pronounce Retchenu, R-E-T-C-H-N-U. But he has Rethenu, as you can see right here. If it'll allow me to highlight it. I guess it won't allow me, but y'all can see my cursor right here. Rethenu. But it's Retchenu. You see the tethering rope right there? The R, which is the mouth. The tethering rope, which is TCH. The CH sound. Retchenu. Not Rethenu. But because Budge transliterates the tethering rope as a TH, he's going to have Rethenu. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you all a modern scholarly way of writing that same word. So let me switch over. Switching over. So, oh, you all can't see it. There you go. So this is a coming from a text called the Great Karnak Inscription of Memphis. All right, and so as you can see here in this particular page, they're talking about the royal appearance and speeches of Merneptah, King Merneptah. All right, and like I said, I'm not trying to give a language lesson, but I want to show you all how scholars of modern era, I mean, we kind of, scholars have been stopped using Budge's method of transliteration and spelling out words. But look at this footnote here, footnote 336, and I was trying to find the superscripted number, but anyway, as you can see here, it says down here, I hope y'all can see my cursor. It says the prisoners are clearly Libyan, but text above the top row refers to having ravaged what? Retchenu. That's how scholars spell that same word that I just showed you how Budge spelled it. He spells it Rethenu. But everybody and their mother spells it Retchenu in modern time. That's all. It's just very, very simple. Okay, so hopefully everybody can follow that. I can't get any more simple than that.
I don't think he understands because he's talking about omissions. So he says that Wu just doesn't understand. It's about omissions, not what form the letters take.
Deshareb, listen. If you accuse me of not understanding, come on here. The panel link is right there. Because typing, your statements don't make any sense. Because I just explained to you that the transliteration is a modern invention in the first place. So the glyphs are the glyphs all day, every day. So if you're talking about the omission, I already went over that. The owl in the word remech is omitted. For all of Egypt's existence, there's rare occasions where you do see the owl or the half blunt that I mentioned earlier. The ancient Egyptians didn't translate anything, transliterate anything. They don't have to. Just like when we write English, we don't got to transliterate English. We're writing in English. In English, that's it. So all you got to do is come on here and state your case so that it could be coherent and understood, because otherwise you're really not making sense.
Yeah, I already tried that because he was first talking about omissions, and we made it very clear that it is not people writing in the dictionaries that are omitting anything. The omission of the glyphs happen from either the walls, the papyrus, and all that. That is the scribes omitting, and Mujawa has explained why those omissions happen. Most likely is, you can find a misspelling or even to make the words aesthetically pleasing on the wall, on the walls, or on a papyrus. So the scribes themselves, the ancient Ramech, not people in writing the modern dictionaries, are omitting those things that supposedly are on the glyphs. They are not there. The scribes are omitting them for aesthetic purposes. So then when you're writing them in the dictionary, you actually have to include the word. And when people actually are writing, like either on the internet or in books, most likely where the scribes omitted those words themselves, you'll find the transliteration, which actually uses letters of the alphabet, not the glyphs, will be in brackets to show that that particular word in its original text in the primary is not that the glyph is omitted, but it will be included in the transliteration with the brackets. So once you understand that, there's no other way that to explain that to you. They are omitted in the original primaries.
All right, so to put this to bed, um, this is Raymond Faulkner's dictionary, page 149, where you have the entry for the word remech. All right, he has the glyphs here. The glyphs that he has right here that you can see on my cursor is he gives you the reference where you can find that, the primary source. It's in the Amarna, volume 5. And if you want to know exactly what is made reference to, it's all in his bibliography. So he says page 15 of volume 5 of a series of texts called Amarna. And then he has the plural mankind. You find that in which is a German series of journals, volume number 4 of page 159. Okay? Then he has over here in the pyramid text, spell number 400, he has a variation here where you have the mouth, the owl, the tethering rope, and the 3 strokes. So Faulkner, like everybody else, will show you the sources where you can see this variation. So it's not omitted in the pyramid text, but it is omitted in the primary source for this one, where you have this rendition, and so on and so forth. So the dictionary writers are not omitting it. You're talking about either the glyphs or the transliteration. Budge had his own transliteration scheme. That's it. There's there's nothing to argue about any further. So if you can't understand that, what I just said, then I can't help you. And that's okay that if I can't help you. Maybe somebody else will. Maybe you'll pick up a book one day and it'll hit you like a ton of bricks one day. So, and I hope that happens. But listen, okay, I see Asaram Ka came on board, but I'm about to close it out. So Asaram Ka, you got the mic, but
I ain't gonna
yeah.
do nothing but say something for 2 seconds. But I lost the jet. ETM but Seni that. Yeah, but no. You know what this reminds me of? You remember? I think we was talking to. I think his name is Yeshua in a hangout. And remember, we were explaining the metal Netcher on the wall, and I think his uncle hopped in from the back and said, "What do you see here, brother? Don't you think it's evil? Don't you think that stuff look evil?"
Oh yeah,
Remember
I
that?
remember that.
That's what
Yeah.
this reminds me of. You got guys who don't even understand or read the information to to know how to transliterate something in the first place, trying to make judgment calls on the information we're watching, perceiving, and looking at. And then you have us who we study, we read it, we practice writing it, and they don't even know that in the later forms like demotic, you start to get certain things that lead you to the vowels. They don't even know that if you start to look at the letters back and forth from them and the Hittites or them and so, that the other cultures write the vowels so we can hear how some of this stuff is enunciated, to see how they come up with that information. So this is like talking to somebody who just, as it states, a picture scholarship. You look at the picture and then you try to make a decision, but you don't actually go do the work to understand how the language is comprehended, understood, or spoken. But you turn around and try to speak Hebrew, and Hebrew was deciphered this same way. You turn around and try to speak Greek, and Greek was deciphered this same way. The only difference is with Medew, Netcher, and these other languages I just mentioned, this one here hasn't been put in practice in a while. You're starting to see it resurface in this African American community and communities abroad, and even some European communities. That's it. That's it. And so
Yep.
these guys, this is terrible. This is the worst stuff. And it's almost like uh black people who hate themselves or don't want to see themselves in any great position is what it looks like. Because the first thing they argue is the DNA there isn't black, or no, it's okay to be Kenyan. Ain't that what one of the brothers said today? So
Yeah, it's
it's silly.
yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. I want to show this. This is going to Desharab's comment as well. He made a comment saying, where'd it go? He said, implied omission shouldn't lead to literal omission. And, that really doesn't make sense. Like a lot of stuff that I'm reading from you, Desharab, is not making sense. That's why I said you should click the link and let your voice be heard and speak. But you don't want to do that for whatever reason. Cool. But there is no implied omission. So let me make it crystal clear to you. The owl or the M, the consonant M as in Mary, is fully omitted by the scribes. This is the tomb of Seti I. This is not a creation from Wujawu. I didn't carve this tomb. This is a picture from the actual tomb itself. Okay? The scribes did this. They omitted the consonant M in this column that this green arrow is pointing to. That arrow is pointing to the word remech.
Mm-hmm.
There's no M there.
You and this is part of what I mean. They've never read the rules to the writing to know that when you write some of the words down as a scribe in ancient times, you didn't have to put the M. People already understood what you were talking about in that culture and society. But this is part of the rules that we know. They don't concur to that because he's never read the rules on why they would omit certain letters in statements. But in other areas, you'll see the full word written with the determiner. But they didn't consider that to be attractive writing. And there's letters that they speak on in ancient times that say this in particular. This is how we know that rule.
Exactly, and what you just said, I said that earlier. Yep, I even read from James P. Allen where he mentions the quadrant, the imaginary rectangle and square, and it's a scribal standard in canon. And the phrase that I use is aesthetically pleasing. The scribes wanted to make sure that the Sesh Medew Netcher was also Sesh Medew Nefer or Nefer, that it was beautiful and aesthetically pleasing. But the example here is that the M, there's no representation of the M in the carving right here. Nor down here. You have the open mouth and then it skips the M. There's no M. Then it goes straight to the tethering rope. It's the same word. And so the point here is that there's no implied omission. The scribes omitted it. When we transliterate it, we put the M in, and we usually put it M in parentheses to let you know that it's omitted. but we know that it is there because it survives in Coptic, and we see in rare occasions where the M is actually in place. One such place is the pyramid text, spell 400 that I showed you from Raymond Faulkner. Go to that spell, go to the primary, and then look at the glyphs, and you'll see the mouth, the owl, tethering rope, and 3 strokes. Period, point blank. So if you're not willing to do that, then I really can't help you. All right, so let's move on.
Read it right now.
Yeah, spell. Yep.
This is right over here on the shelf.
Okay, yeah. See if you can find it real quick before we end. It's should be spell 400.
A food spell, right? I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one off the top of my head, but that's the reference Faulkner gave.
Kansas.
So Deshareb is asking, why is ref missing in Latin? Because Budge left the M out. Because Budge didn't see it in the glyphs. Duh. Like, god dang.
This is why you don't want to be relying on Budge like that.
Good gracious.
We take Budge because he has the glyphs written in form, meaning he did a trans.
Wait, Paul.
Go ahead.
Pause for a second, man. Now, all right, I see Deshareb is now he's trolling. So now that's the cutoff point. Deshareb, you know, I was hoping you were being serious trying to learn, but now you're saying, would the Remich know what reth is in Latin? Come on now.
No. That's why we clowning you, because you can't read what they wrote. That's the whole point. You
No, but I'm saying that's a silly question. Like, why would that even be a question? Would the Remich know about Latin? That's like, would the Remich know about English and stuff? Like, come on, that's really some silly stuff. So that's it. So it's getting late, y'all. So Assam Khan, I appreciate you coming through. I don't know if you could find that. You think you can find it real quick?
I can, but I think he might have been referring to another text. Sometimes he has that. I'll read it real quick. It's the eye of Heru drips upon the bush of Denu. O you double Heru, who presides over the house, is Lord of provisions, great one and on. Give the king bread, give the king beer. Make rich provisions for the king, make rich provisions for the king's offering table. Richly provide the king's shambles. If the king be hungry, the double lion will be hungry. If the king be thirsty, Nekabet will be thirsty. O Netcher of the hidden of the hedge and plant. O Netcher of the hedge and plant, do not use the smell of your hedge and plant against the Nasu. You shall not use the smell of your hedge and plant against the Nasu, etc., etc. I think he probably was referencing a different location.
No, you know what it is? No, there's two numbering systems for the pyramid text. So when they say 400, it may not be
he means
the spell 400.
I got you. Hold on, let me grab
it may
that
be
one.
chapter, like how they separate it.
Yeah,
because actually James P. Allen and his colleagues organized it better, and they have that renumbering system.
Yeah, because you find that with Faulkner, and that's why I was saying that he sometimes he messes up his numbers. His other one, where you go to like 400 as a statement, he says the king is one who eats. Well, there it is. Men and lives on the Netcher of gods, a possessor of porters who dispatches messages. So when he says who eats men, and he's talking about the learning, this is what they call a cannibal hymn. When he says men, he says remech.
Okay,
so he
yeah.
eats the remech knowledge.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying. That's the correct spot, but we need the primary. We need the glyph, the wall.
Yeah,
right there for that section. That's
so in the back. But
when I go live,
yeah.
when I go live, I'll dig it up and we'll show that so that people could see the word Remech spelled all the way out with the owl glyph to put that to rest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna say Shem Hotep to everybody. Appreciate everybody tuned in. You know, it's a late one. It's Sunday night. I know everybody got to get ready for the work week. You know, closing out February. February is Black History Month, so hopefully everybody enjoyed and learned some more Black history. And get ready for the spring. You know, spring is next. And I've been watching the news. I see what's going on in Europe with Russia and Ukraine and stuff like that. We don't tend to pay attention to that kind of stuff unless it hits close to home or whatever. But when I see that it sparks my curiosity to see the history of that buildup of what's going on. What's the relationship between Ukraine, Russia, the former Soviet Union, and the wall coming down and stuff like that from 2014, 16, 14, and going further back. It's some interesting stuff. So, I don't know if y'all are into that, but it's good to kind of stay in the know on those kinds of things, because these conflicts, see, even if they're far, they seem afar. That's across the Atlantic Ocean, in Europe. Don't for 1 second underestimate the effect that wars abroad can have on us here. Yeah, we're not being bombed or anything like that, but like, for example, gas prices shot up. I don't know if anybody in California in the chat, but at one point gas was like $6 a gallon. Right now it's $4 here in Georgia a gallon. And the stock market, cryptocurrency will react to war, and then relationships, period. You know what I mean? So don't. And okay, I'll give you another example. There's a cartel in Mexico that did something recently, and I didn't follow it close enough to give any details, but some cartel in Mexico did something recently that affected the imports of avocados. And that hit me because I'm an avocado connoisseur. And you go to the grocery store, and avocados that was once 79 cents each, you gotta pay $1.99. Like, man, that hits you up. So I'm just saying, I guess what I'm saying is that every now and then, man, we got to get our heads out of this circus community sometimes and pay attention to what's going on around us and in the world, and just stay abreast on these current events. But with that, oh yeah, Damo said, yeah, nuclear is worldwide. Yep, it could bring 100 years of cold darkness. Yes, indeed. Yeah, Mika said, my long goodbye. You're absolutely right. So let me stop my long goodbye and stop this. But yeah, so I appreciate everybody tuning in and checking out. Hopefully everybody learned something. And with that, I am definitely going to say we are out.
Plato said that when you go to chemist school, you became more alert. You wake up, your spirit wake up. And you became a more human being. That's your character is built in a school. Netcher. You see, maybe in the future we need to know some heretic too. We need to know